Chapter 12:10. They were 4 lifelike scrolls with 4 images on them. Ling Xiao saw that the first 3 images were of him, the wind cloud platform, and Fengya. The 4th image was of Ji Feishuan in a fluttering white dress with a sweet smile and peerless elegance. Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. If he could find Ji Feishuan, he would be able to find the whereabouts of Shui Wei, Old Goat, Daoist Wu Yang, and the others. The burly general spoke from the high platform. Everyone, the city lord's estate has issued a bounty for these 4 people. Anyone who can provide their whereabouts will be rewarded with 10,000 divine stones. Anyone who can capture them alive will be rewarded with 100,000 divine stones and a scroll of a divine tier martial art. The burly general's gaze was like lightning. It was incomparably cold as it slowly swept across the crowd below. His cultivation had already reached the heavenly god realm. His voice instantly spread throughout the dazzling gold city, causing countless people to boil with excitement. Divine stones were the hard currency of the divine world. It was a necessary resource for a god realm expert to cultivate. 100,000 divine stones was enough to make a true god realm expert excited. A divine tier martial art would even make a heavenly god realm expert go crazy. After all, in the divine world, if one wanted to learn a powerful martial art, one could only join those sacred grounds or sections. A divine tier martial art could at least be cultivated to the great circle of the heavenly god realm. Such an expert would be roped in wherever he went and become an expert. Immediately, everyone rubbed their palms and imprinted the 4 figures in their hearts. They couldn't wait to capture the 4 of them. Fortunately, Ling Xiao and Fengya had disguised themselves and changed their aura. Otherwise, they would have been discovered by others. Ling Xiao wasn't surprised by the bounty for Fengya, Wind Cloud Platform, and Feng Xiao. It was definitely the work of the Peach Blossom young master. However, the bounty for Ji Feishuan made Ling Xiao's gaze turn cold. If Ji Feishuan was in danger, Shui Wei, Old Goat, and the others would be in danger too. If this wasn't the dazzling gold city, Ling Xiao almost wanted to capture that general and interrogate him. Let's go. Ling Xiao took a deep look at that general and left with Fengya and Yu Yangchen. Although they couldn't expose their identities in the dazzling gold city, they should be able to find out why the dazzling gold city lord wanted Ji Feishuan. Ji Feishuan is the princess of the great Zhou divine kingdom. Could it be that the city lord of dazzling gold city recognized her identity? That's impossible. Ling Xiao thought in his heart, but then he shook his head. Ji Feishuan had already left the divine realm for 1,000,000 years, and the dazzling gold city's lord was probably just a junior, so how could he possibly recognize Ji Feishuan? Brother Long, do you recognize those 4 people? 100,000 divine stones per person and a divine level martial skill. If we can capture them, we will be rich. Yap Liangchen looked like a money grubber. His eyes lit up as he spoke. I don't know her. Ling Xiao glared at him in exasperation. Big Brother Long, I want to buy a defensive divine artifact. Over there is the Golden Stone Building. It is said that it is the largest divine artifact and medicinal pill store in dazzling Gold City. Shall we go and take a look? Fengya knew that Ling Xiao did not want to reveal his identity, so she cleverly called him Big Brother Long, Golden Stone Pavilion. Ha ha ha. Great, great. I also heard that the Golden Stone Pavilion has everything from low-grade divine artifacts to supreme-grade divine artifacts, and even divine king artifacts. They also have all kinds of divine pills, divine herbs, and heavenly treasures. It is even said that there is a half-sage artifact that is their most treasured artifact. Let's go and broaden our horizons. Yap Liangchen was still a little listless a moment ago, but he was immediately interested in the Golden Stone Pavilion. Alright, let's go and take a look at the Golden Stone Pavilion. Ling Xiao smiled and said. Fengya had just broken through to the divine spirit realm, and she was about to participate in the Great Void Trial. She indeed needed to buy a defensive divine artifact. The 3 of them walked towards the Golden Stone Pavilion. The Golden Stone Pavilion was a group of palaces. It looked dazzling and magnificent, and there were traces of auspicious air and divine light lingering around it. It looked like the palace of a divine king. People came and went in the golden stone pavilion, and it looked very prosperous and lively. Esteemed guests, please come in. A pretty maid at the door who was welcoming guests saw Ling Xiao and the other two, and her eyes immediately lit up. Although Ling Xiao and the other two's clothes looked very ordinary, and Yap Liangchen looked extremely ugly, Ling Xiao had an extraordinary aura. The maids of the golden stone pavilion were sharper than the other. When they sensed Ling Xiao's aura, they immediately knew that he was a big customer. The enthusiasm on their faces became even more intense. Esteemed guests, our golden stone pavilion has everything, be it divine artifacts, divine pills, divine herbs, or heavenly treasures. May I know what you would like to buy? The pretty maid said with a smile, but her eyes fell on Ling Xiao and Fengya. She almost automatically ignored Yap Liangchen. Ling Xiao looked at the surrounding exhibition tables and sighed in his heart. Even the lowest low-grade divine artifact was worth a few thousand divine stones. High-grade divine artifacts were worth a few 100,000 divine stones, and supreme-grade divine artifacts were worth more than 1,000,000 divine stones. Speaking of which, Ling Xiao was now a pauper. Although he had killed a few real gods in the war god plane and obtained a few divine artifacts and a few million divine stones, he didn't care about those divine artifacts. He had left them in the Changsan sect as the sect's most important treasure. Even for divine stones, he only had a few 100,000 divine stones with him. Fengya and Yi Liangchen were also overwhelmed by the dazzling array of divine weapons and divine pills. Their eyes were filled with incomparable excitement. I would like to buy a middle-grade divine artifact. Fengya thought for a while and said while biting her lips. Although the wind cloud platform had given her a few 100,000 divine stones, it didn't seem to be enough to buy a high-grade divine artifact. These were the savings of the wind cloud platform and the wind spirit tribe for many years. Fengya was gentle and naturally, she wouldn't spend all the divine stones. Hence, she planned to buy a middle-grade divine artifact. It's too expensive. That middle-grade divine artifact, Frost Sword, costs 150,000 divine stones. You guys are simply robbing money. Yap Liangchen said while curling his lips. 3 esteemed guests. This Frost Sword was forged by Master O Yezi when he was young. Originally, it had hopes of being forged into a high-grade divine artifact. However, the material wasn't up to standard, so it was only a middle-grade divine artifact. However, it's still considered a top-grade divine artifact. 150,000 divine stones is really worth it. The pretty maid said with a professional smile on her face. A sword forged by Master O Yezi. 150,000 divine stones is indeed not expensive. The surrounding people exclaimed as their gazes fell on the frost sword. Master O Yezi was a master blacksmith. He was famous in the entire dazzling gold city. It was said that he could forge divine artifacts and was even studying how to forge holy artifacts. A divine artifact forged by him when he was young was naturally very popular. An ordinary middle-grade divine artifact was only worth a few 100,000 divine stones. This frost sword was forged by Master O Yezi. 150,000 divine stones was definitely not a loss. Chapter 12:11. The ice frost sword was a short sword. It was only 1 foot long and looked extremely cold. It was shining brightly and mysterious patterns were flowing on it. It was very beautiful. No matter how one looked at it, the ice frost sword was extremely exquisite. Fengya fell in love with it at first sight. However, the price of 150,000 divine stones still made her hesitate. Yi Liangchen seemed to have seen through Fengya's hesitation. He said to the pretty maid, even if this is a divine weapon made by Master O Yezi, the price is too ridiculous. Why don't you give me a discount? 100,000 divine stones is just right. The pretty maid's face stiffened. Although she still maintained her smile, it was a little unnatural. 100,000 divine stones. This incomparably ugly guy actually dared to say that. If it weren't for the fact that they were customers, the pretty girl would have already thrown them out. Bumpkin, don't buy it if you can't afford it. Why are you pretending to be rich? Miss, here are 150,000 divine stones. This cold frost sword is mine. An ear-piercing voice suddenly sounded. A young man in a brocade robe walked in from outside the Golden Stone restaurant. Behind him were two true God Realm guards. When Yu Yangshan saw the young man in the brocade robe, he was angry and amused. Wasn't this the kid who was looking for trouble just now? Little brat, why are you everywhere? Who said that we can't afford the ice frost sword? Brother Long, pay up. Let this kid see that I, Yu Yangshan, am not short of money. Yu Yangshan glared at the young man in the brocade robe and said. Ling Xiao was a little helpless. Yu Yangshan was obviously very poor, but he still wanted to show off. However, Ling Xiao didn't expose him. Moreover, he could see that Feng Yu really liked the ice frost sword. He took out 150,000 divine stones and handed it to the pretty girl. This ice frost sword, we want it. Feng Yu quickly said, Brother Long, I have divine stones. I can't let you spend money. Let me do it. It's okay. It's just a middle-grade divine weapon. Just treat it as a gift from me. Ling Xiao smiled and said nonchalantly. Wait. I said that I want this ice frost sword. I'll pay 200,000 divine stones. The young man in the brocade robe didn't expect Ling Xiao to really take out 150,000 divine stones. His face turned ugly as he stared at the pretty maid and said. Young Master Yun, my apologies. My Golden Stone Pavilion's rules are first come, first served. This young master came first, so we can only sell the cold frost sword to him. The pretty girl looked at the brocade-robed youth apologetically, but her voice was firm. Although she knew that the youth before her was the young master of the dazzling Gold City's Yun family, Yun Chen, and that the Yun family was a large family second only to the dazzling Gold City's city master's mansion, the rules of the Golden Stone Pavilion could not be broken. Not to mention Yun Chen, even if the dazzling Gold City's city master were to personally come, it would still be the same. Ha ha ha. Little brat, wasn't I right? Don't act pretentious, or else you'll be struck by lightning. This ice frost sword is destined to have no fate with you. Yu Yangshan laughed out loud. He was very happy to see Yun Chen suffer. Humph. What's there to be proud of, country bumpkin? Wasn't it just a mediocre divine artifact? This young master doesn't care about such a divine artifact. If you have the ability, why don't you buy that Yuan Shuang godly sword too? Yun Chen said as he stared at Yu Yangshan with a ghastly expression. Yuan Shuang godly sword. That's a godly king weapon. It can be said to be Master O Yezi's masterpiece. It's incomparably precious in the Golden Stone Pavilion. No one can afford it. That's one of the most precious treasures of the Golden Stone Pavilion. Hee hee, even if the Yun family sells everything they have, they might not be able to afford it. When the crowd heard the name Yuan Shuang godly sword, their bodies trembled. Their eyes revealed a trace of shock. Yuan Shuang godly sword was a godly king weapon. Legend had it that only a godly king could unleash all of its power. Its power was unparalleled. Legend had it that some godly king weapons could even grow into holy treasures. It was incomparably precious. Moreover, the Yuan Shuang godly sword was actually in the Golden Stone Pavilion. Everyone's eyes were focused on the center of the Golden Stone building. There was a transparent glass box there, and a silver-white ancient sword was suspended within it. The sword was about 3 feet long, and a mysterious luster flowed on the sword's body. Numerous runes were emitted from it, and the sharp aura it emitted caused everyone's hearts to tremble with fear even through the glass box. This was indeed a godly king weapon. Its power was unparalleled. What a good sword. Ling Xiao also let out a soft sigh. A glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. His spiritual sense was extremely sharp. Suddenly, he felt that there was a strange connection between the Yuan Shuang godly sword and Yuan Shuang godly sword. However, the connection was very weak. If Ling Xiao did not sense it with the Heavens Will secret skill, he would not have been able to sense it. Could it be that there's something strange about these two swords? Ling Xiao could not help but be moved. Pfft, I, Yi Liangchen, am a genius. I was born by heaven and earth and placed by the sun and the moon. What is a mere Yuan Shuang godly sword? How many divine stones is that Yuan Shuang godly sword? I want it. Yi Liangchen laughed proudly. Ha ha ha. You really don't know what's good for you. Yuan Shuang godly sword. Even the governor can't afford it. How dare you talk nonsense here? Everyone knows the price of the Yuan Shuang godly sword. 100 million divine stones. Take it out and it's yours now. Yun Chen sneered and looked at Yi Liangchen gloatingly. He did not expect Yi Liangchen to be so smart. He only provoked him slightly and Yi Liangchen fell for it. The surrounding people looked at Yi Liangchen as if they were looking at an idiot. Their eyes were filled with mockery. That was 100 million divine stones. Divine stones were very precious in the divine world. One divine stone was enough for a divine spirit realm expert to cultivate for a few days. 100 million divine stones could at least raise a person's cultivation all the way to the heavenly god realm. Looking at Yi Liangchen's appearance, he did not have anything valuable on him. Moreover, his cultivation was only at the early divine spirit realm. How dare he say that he wanted to buy the Yuan Shuang godly sword? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed slightly. He felt that there was a connection between the Yuan Shuang godly sword and the Yuan Shuang godly sword. If he could buy it, he might gain an unimaginable amount of benefits. If I can afford it, what will you do? Yi Liangchen revealed a smile and said faintly. If you can afford the Yuan Shuang godly sword, I will write my name backwards. Yun Chen sneered and said. I don't need you to write your name backwards. How about this? If I can afford it, you will give me the ancient jade on your neck. What do you think? Yi Liangchen said with a smile. You want my ancient jade? Don't even think about it. When Yun Chen heard Yi Liangchen's words, he immediately took a few steps back and looked at Yi Liangchen vigilantly. There was an ancient jade on his neck. It looked very mysterious. There were golden engravings on it and there seemed to be golden light flowing inside it. Yun Chen's ancient jade was found by his father in a historical ruin. Although he did not know what it was used for, it could allow Yun Chen to be reborn and nourish his blood and qi. It could be considered a treasure. Chapter 12:12. Who says I don't dare? I don't believe that a country bumpkin like you can get 100 million divine stones from that place. All right. I'll bet with you. Yun Chen was provoked by Yi Liangchen. When he saw the strange look in the eyes of the people around him, he couldn't help but stare at Yi Liangchen and say. Very good. Sister, do you think this thing is worth 100 million divine stones? Yi Liangchen said with a smile. Then, he passed a jade box to the pretty maidservant. The pretty maid was a little puzzled, but she still opened it gently. Immediately, a vast and terrifying pressure enveloped the entire sky, causing everyone to tremble. It was as if they couldn't help but kneel down. There was a finger in the jade box. It looked as crystal clear as jade, but it emitted an incomparably terrifying pressure. This is the holy aura. What kind of treasure is that? Someone exclaimed and immediately shouted. His eyes were filled with incomparable fear. Holy aura. Could it be the legendary holy aura? Could the thing in that jade box be a holy treasure? Using a holy treasure to exchange for a godly king weapon. Is this kid stupid? Immediately, everyone was shocked. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. Honorable guest, this thing is too precious. I can't make the decision. I'll go and ask the head shopkeeper to come over. The pretty girl's body trembled. She quickly closed the jade box. Immediately, the majestic holy aura disappeared. Only then did everyone heave a sigh of relief. Their bodies were drenched in sweat. Could that be the finger of a saint? This guy can actually get the finger of a saint. It seems that he's not simple. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. He had just sensed that the thing in the jade box was a finger. Whoosh! Suddenly, an old man with a ruddy face and white hair appeared in front of everyone. His face was filled with incomparable excitement. He hurriedly and carefully took the jade box. "Greetings, head shopkeeper." When the pretty maid saw the old man, she immediately bowed respectfully. Reverence appeared on everyone's faces. They all knew that this old man was the head shopkeeper of the Golden Stone Pavilion, Lu Jinsong, a heavenly god expert. In the current divine realm, where the sages did not appear and the divine kings ruled the world, the heavenly gods were the experts of an area. They were able to make countless people revere them. It really is a holy treasure. Lu Jinsong opened the jade box and felt the extremely pure saint's might. His eyes were filled with shock as he took a deep breath and asked, "Little friend, are you really willing to use this treasure to exchange for the primordial frost sword?" "If you are willing, I am willing to add another 30 million god stones." Lu Jinsong looked at Yi Liangchen excitedly. His eyes were filled with anticipation. 30 million god stones? "No problem, let's exchange then," Yi Liangchen said with a smile. He was overjoyed. Speaking of which, that was only a sage's finger. It could not be considered a complete holy treasure. Otherwise, if a complete holy treasure appeared, even the god kings would likely shed all pretenses of cordiality and attack. A mere dazzling gold city would not be able to devour it. However, even if it was a sage's finger, its value was immeasurable. Speaking of which, the Golden Stone Pavilion had profited greatly. On the other hand, Yun Chen was instantly dumbfounded. What was going on? The bumpkin in front of him looked extremely ugly. He was wearing a shabby Taoist robe. Moreover, his cultivation was only at the early divine spirit realm. He could not even take out 150,000 god stones. How could he have a holy treasure? Yun Chen felt that his worldview was about to collapse. He did not dare to believe everything that was happening in front of him. Ha ha ha. Thank you, little friend. In the future, you will be a distinguished guest of the Golden Stone Pavilion. No matter what treasure you want to buy, you will be able to get a 30% discount. Lu Jinsong said in an incomparably heroic manner. He was overjoyed in his heart. That was a holy treasure, an immeasurable holy treasure. He did not expect that the kid in front of him would sell it so easily. Lu Jinsong quickly sent someone to open the restriction array of the glazed box in the center. He took out the primordial frost sword and handed it to Yi Liangchen respectfully. Then, he gave him a storage ring filled with 30 million god stones. The primordial frost sword. It's a so-so. Little ya, I'll give it to you. Yi Liangchen took the primordial frost sword and brandished it a few times. Immediately, sword chi swept out and a cold light flashed, causing everyone to feel a chill. However, in the end, he curled his lips and handed the primordial frost sword to Fengya. Give it to me. No, this is too expensive. Fengya was also shocked. She was shocked by Yi Liangchen's generosity. This was the primordial frost sword that was worth 100 million god stones. Yi Liangchen gave it away just like that. Yun Chen's expression was also extremely ugly. He felt as if someone had slapped his face a few times. It was burning with pain. He did not expect that the bumpkin in his eyes would really buy the primordial frost sword. The surrounding people looked at Yi Liangchen with a trace of greed and passion in their eyes. As the saying went, a man's wealth was his own ruin. Yi Liangchen was only at the early divine spirit realm, but he had a holy treasure on him. Now that he had the primordial frost sword, everyone looked at him differently. He was simply a big fat sheep. Xiaoya, take it. We are close friends. Your brother Liangchen was born by heaven and earth and was placed by the sun and moon. It's just a godly king weapon. I don't care about it at all. Yi Liangchen stuffed it into Fengya's hands without any explanation and said with a smile. Seeing that Fengya still wanted to refuse, Ling Xiao also smiled faintly and said, Xiaoya, take it. This guy doesn't lack god stones anyway, and he doesn't need a godly weapon. Ling Xiao was also suspicious now. Yi Liangqin's life was like a cheat. Why would he need a godly weapon? He was a great killing machine just by standing there. Who would dare to provoke him? Was this the saint of misfortune or the son of the heavens? When Fengya heard Ling Xiao's words, she nodded obediently and took the primordial frost sword. She looked at Yi Liangqin with a trace of gratitude in her eyes. Little brat, you lost. Hurry up and give me the ancient jade. Don't tell me you want to go back on your word. Yi Liangqin looked at Yunqin proudly and said. Humph. Don't be so proud. I'll leave my ancient jade with you for now. One day, I'll personally take it back. Yunqin's expression was very ugly. However, in front of everyone, he couldn't do anything to go back on his word. Therefore, he gritted his teeth and directly pulled off the ancient jade from his neck and threw it to Yi Liangqin. Then, he left with his 2 guards in a dejected manner. He hated Yi Liangqin to the extreme in his heart. Today, he had seen Yi Liangqin twice, and every time he was slapped hard. He simply didn't want to stay for a moment longer. 3 distinguished guests, my golden stone pavilion is holding an auction. There are incomparably precious treasures being auctioned there. Do you want to take a look? Chapter 12-13. Oh, what treasures are there? Yi Liangqin's interest was piqued as he looked at Lu Jinsong and asked. This auction is held for the Great Void Trial, so there are all kinds of treasures. Among them, there are 3 ultimate treasures, a sage-level treasure, a drop of holy liquid, and a piece of void primordial gold. Lu Jinsong said with a smile. He didn't hide anything from Yi Liangqin. He told Yi Liangqin about the auction. Then, he handed Yi Liangqin a list of treasures. Ling Xiao did not care at first, but when he heard about the 3 ultimate treasures, his eyes revealed a trace of shock. It was fine if it was a half-step saint treasure. Although it was precious, Ling Xiao didn't place it in his eyes. As for the 9 primal chaos tablets in Ling Xiao's hands, although he couldn't activate them now, he could feel that the primal chaos tablets were saint treasures, true saint treasures. Moreover, Ling Xiao's sky-devouring sword had become a high-grade divine artifact and had unlimited potential to grow. However, the drop of holy liquid moved Ling Xiao. The holy liquid was a supreme treasure formed by saints refining the power of heaven and earth. It was said that if an expert below the heavenly god realm could obtain a drop of holy liquid, it would be enough to raise his cultivation by a small level. It was indeed very attractive to Ling Xiao. What made Ling Xiao even more excited was the void primordial gold. Perhaps others did not know that the void primordial gold was a divine metal used to forge holy treasures. It contained the imprint of the great Tao and was incomparably precious. Most importantly, Ling Xiao knew that the void primordial gold could increase the quality of divine artifacts. If the sky-devouring sword could fuse with the void primordial gold, it would not be impossible for it to be upgraded to a supreme-grade divine artifact or even a godly king artifact. No matter what, he had to obtain the void primordial gold. Let's go. Let's go take a look at this auction. Ling Xiao said to Fengya and Yi Liangqin. The 2 of them naturally had no objections. After seeing the list of treasures for the auction, they were all excited. Their eyes were filled with incomparable excitement. Ling Xiao could feel that because Yi Liangqin had bought the primordial frost holy sword, it had attracted the attention of many people. There were even many divine thoughts that were emitted with obvious malice. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of coldness. If those people did not know what was good for them, he did not mind sending them on their way. Under the lead of a pretty maidservant, Ling Xiao's group of 3 arrived at a huge palace. The palace was circular, and there were already tens of thousands of figures sitting inside. All of them had powerful auras, at least of the divine spirit realm. They were all here to participate in the auction. They wanted to buy 1 or 2 treasures for the upcoming Great Void Trial. In the center of the palace, there was a crystal platform. It was overflowing with light and looked very mysterious. On the high platform, there was a woman in palace attire. She looked very beautiful. Her eyes were full of charm and her figure was also very hot. She was the host of this auction. It was of it. Of it. Of it. Of it. It. The starting price of the Azura saber is 200,000 god stones. Please make your bids. The woman in the palace dress smiled. A long black saber appeared on the tray in her hand. The blade looked very sharp. There were a few blood grooves on it. It was filled with a murderous aura. It contained a fluctuation that caused the surrounding void to tremble. It is indeed a good saber. I want it. 300,000 god stones. 350,000 god stones. 500,000. Soon, the price of the Azura saber rose steadily. In the end, it was bought by a middle-aged man in a black robe for 1,300,000 god stones. Although 1,300,000 god stones had exceeded the price of a high-grade divine weapon, it was still worth it for the Azura saber that could become a supreme-grade divine weapon. After the black-robed young man bought the Azura saber, he immediately paid the god stones. Then, he took the Azura saber and left with a vigilant expression. Although private fights were prohibited in dazzling Gold City, treasures could move people's hearts. Things like killing people and robbing them of their treasures happened from time to time. Next up are 3 high-grade divine pills, the primary yang pill. Everyone knows about the primary yang pill. It is a healing divine pill. For experts below the heavenly god realm, even if they are on their last breath, consuming the primary yang pill can prolong their life and slowly recover. Think about it, the Great Void's secret realm is filled with danger. Having the primary yang pill is equivalent to having an extra life. The starting price for these 3 primary yang pills is 300,000 god stones. Everyone, please make your bids. The woman smiled and took out 3 pure white elixirs. They were about the size of a longan fruit and were sparkling and translucent. There were mysterious patterns on the surface of the elixirs. They were sealed in a glass bottle and looked incomparably exquisite. It's the primary yang pill. This is even more precious than the supreme grade divine pills that can increase one's cultivation. I want it. 500,000 god stones. I bid 800,000 god stones. Many people knew about the miraculous effects of the primary yang pill. It could revive the dead. However, the production was too low. It was a pleasant surprise to see the primary yang pill in the auction today. Immediately, many people's eyes revealed their determination to win, and they began to bid one after another. Primary yang pill. Good stuff. I want it. 2 million god stones. Yi Liangqin's eyes lit up and he began to bid. Anyway, this guy was a tycoon. He had just sold a holy treasure and he still had 30 million god stones on him. Therefore, he was not afraid to bid. Ling Xiao also nodded. The primary yang pill was extremely precious. It was an ancient pill. Those who could make the primary yang pill were all alchemy grandmasters. Yi Liangqin's bid shocked everyone. After all, 2 million god stones was already a high price. It was enough to buy an ordinary supreme-grade divine weapon. The voices of the bidders began to weaken. At this moment, a feminine voice came from a private room upstairs. 2,500,000 god stones. I am Lu Wenqing. I need this primary yang pill very much. If you can give me some face, I will be very grateful. When the voice rang out, everyone was stunned. The Peach Blossom Prince, Lu Wenqing. He is the city governor's favorite son. Since he has made a move, it seems like we can only give up. That's right. However, 2,500,000 god stones has exceeded the value of the primary yang pill. When the crowd heard Lu Wenqing's name, they were shocked. Their eyes were filled with fear. The Peach Blossom Prince was very famous in the dazzling Gold City. Everyone knew that the Peach Blossom Prince would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Who would dare to offend him? Instantly, everyone gave up on bidding. Peach Blossom Prince? I have never heard of him. This is an auction. If you want to bid for the primary yang pill, you will have to have enough god stones. I bid 3 million god stones. Yi Liangqin's eyes flashed and he sneered. The Peach Blossom Prince wanted to snatch the primary yang pill just by saying his name. Yi Liangqin did not buy it. He immediately started to fight back. Peach Blossom Prince. Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. Chapter 12-14. In the private room, there was a handsome young man in a pink robe. His body was emitting a feminine aura. He was Lu Wenqing, who had escaped from Ling Shao. However, his injuries had already healed and he was about to break through to the true god realm. You are courting death. Peach Blossom young master's eyes flashed coldly. When he saw Yi Liangqin, he sneered. Yi Liangqin's cultivation was only at the early divine spirit realm. He was wearing a shabby robe and looked extremely ugly. However, he was extremely arrogant at this moment. It was as if he did not put Peach Blossom young master in his eyes. Such a person dared to not give face to Peach Blossom young master. He was simply courting death. Everyone looked at Yi Liangqin with sympathy. Yi Liangqin dared to compete with Peach Blossom young master for the Yuan Yang elixir. 3,500,000. Peach Blossom young master said coldly. 4 million. Yi Liangqin acted as if he did not see the gazes of the people around him. He continued to bid proudly. 4,500,000. Peach Blossom young master's voice became even colder. 5 million. Yi Liangqin was still unwilling to be outdone. The two of them seemed to be competing with each other. Soon, the price of the Yuan Yang elixir skyrocketed. It reached 10 million divine stones. 10 million divine stones was naturally bid by Yi Liangqin. However, Peach Blossom young master was already hesitating. Although the Yuan Yang elixir was precious, 3 of them were only worth 3 million divine stones. 10 million divine stones had already far exceeded the value of the Yuan Yang elixir. Peach Blossom young master thought about it and decided to give up when he thought about the final treasure. However, he was not willing to give up just like that. He said coldly, "Very well. I will remember you. What is your name?" "Oh. Are you threatening me?" "Remember, I am Yi Liangqin. I will never change my name. If you can't afford it, then get lost. Why are you pretending to be a wolf?" Yi Liangqin sneered and said. "Yi Liangqin. Very well." Peach Blossom young master's voice was bone-chilling. His knuckles turned green and his eyes revealed a cold killing intent. This guy dares to compete with Peach Blossom young master for the Yuan Yang elixir. He is dead meat. Yi Liangqin. Did water enter this guy's brain, or did he have too many divine stones? He actually used 10 million divine stones to buy 3 basic yang pills. What an idiot. You guys don't know, right? Although this guy is a little ugly, his value is very high. He just bought the Yuan Shuang divine sword from the Golden Stone building, and it's a holy treasure. He's merely at the early stage of the divine spirit realm. How could he possibly have a saint treasure? Could he be a disciple of some big clan or sect? I don't think so. I think this brat is just lucky. I don't know where he got this holy treasure from. If we snatch him away, I'm afraid we'll really be rich. Everyone looked at Yi Liangqin with sympathy and a hint of mockery. When they heard that Yi Liangqin had actually bought the primordial frost holy sword, everyone's eyes revealed a trace of greed. He didn't have any formidable strength, but he had so many treasures on him. This was simply an original sin. Many people treated Yi Liangqin as a fat sheep. Yi Liangqin didn't care about the gazes of the people around him. Instead, he directly handed over the 10 million divine stones and took the glazed jade bottle from the lady's hand. When Yi Liangqin took back the glazed jade bottle, Ling Shao immediately felt that something was wrong. Yi Liangqin was not a fool. On the contrary, Ling Shao felt that this guy was extremely shrewd. Although the basic yang pills were precious, it was not worth it for him to spend so much money. Ling Xiao immediately realized that there was something wrong with the 3 basic yang pills in the glazed jade bottle. Ling Xiao's spiritual sense was extremely sensitive. He actually felt a trace of Saint Tao fluctuation from the pills. These are not basic yang pills. These are basic yang saint pills. Ling Xiao's body trembled. His voice entered Yu Yangchen's ears, and Yu Yangchen was shocked. You scared me. Brother Long, you can tell that these are basic yang saint pills? Yu Yangchen stared at Ling Xiao with his eyes wide open. His eyes were filled with disbelief. They really are basic yang saint pills. It's just that the basic yang saint pills have been around for too long. The medicinal efficacy of the pills has condensed and lost half of its Saint Tao aura. That's why they look exactly like the basic yang pill. If you're not a saint, you won't be able to tell that these are the same. Ling Xiao sighed softly and said. He didn't recognize the basic yang saint pills at first. The 3 pills were too similar to the basic yang pill. However, the wordless heavenly book and heaven's will secret skill were very sensitive to the Saint Tao aura. Therefore, Ling Xiao could sense the Saint Tao aura hidden in the pills. He immediately knew that something was wrong. Brother Long, don't tell me you have X-ray vision. Even I wasn't sure. How did you know? You're really amazing. Yu Yangchen said with admiration and shock. Previously, he only felt that there was something wrong with the 3 pills. He wasn't sure if they were the basic yang saint pills. Now that he had them in his hands, he was completely sure that they were the basic yang saint pills. Although half of the medicinal efficacy of the pills had dissipated, they were still the basic yang saint pills. They were worth hundreds or thousands of times more than the basic yang pill. It could be said that Yu Yangchen had made a huge profit. It was laughable that everyone thought that he was a fool. Keep them well. Fortunately, there aren't any divine king experts here. Otherwise, they would definitely know that these are the basic yang saint pills. You've really picked up a treasure this time. Ling Xiao shook his head and said with a smile. In the realm of the gods, the sages taught people everywhere and oversaw the world. Moreover, their strength was unparalleled. Although most of the sages were currently in seclusion, any treasure that was related to the sages were all incomparably precious treasures. In the following auction, Ling Xiao and Yu Yangchen didn't find any treasures that interested them. However, there was a high-grade divine artifact, the rainbow feathers robe. It was very extraordinary. Yu Yangchen spent 3 million divine stones to buy it and gave it to Fengya. Currently, Fengya was refining the Ice Frost Sword and Yuan Shuang Divine Sword according to Ling Xiao's instructions. Ling Xiao felt that there was a mysterious connection between the 2 divine artifacts. Therefore, he asked Fengya to check it out. When Ling Xiao was done refining the 2 divine artifacts, he would be able to discover the secret behind them. Soon, it was time for the final 3 supreme treasures to be auctioned. A drop of Saint Liquid, Void Essence Gold, and the half-step Saint Artifact, Black Tortoise Divine Armor. The most precious item was naturally the half-step Saint Artifact, Black Tortoise Divine Armor. It could be said that it was the target of many experts. Chapter 12-15. Even the Peach Blossom Prince could not help but take a deep breath. His eyes were filled with anticipation. Although the void elemental gold was precious and useless to him, he was determined to get the drop of holy liquid and the divine armor of the black tortoise. If it wasn't for the fact that the golden stone pavilion was too powerful, he would not have come to the auction. He would have forced the golden stone pavilion to hand over the items. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now auctioning the last 3 items. The first item is a drop of holy liquid. As you all know, the holy liquid is a supreme treasure formed by the sages. It can allow a deity to be reborn, strengthen his physical body, increase his cultivation, and make him more compatible with the laws of heaven and earth. It is extremely mysterious. This drop of holy liquid is enough to raise the cultivation level of an elite below the heavenly god realm. The starting price is 5 million divine stones. Please make your bids. The lady's voice was very provocative. A crystal bottle appeared in front of her. There was a drop of liquid in the bottle that was surrounded by 5-colored light. It looked mysterious and was like a crystal that shone brightly. This was the holy liquid. The holy liquid was extremely precious. It could only be obtained easily in the Holy Lands. Now that the Great Void Trial was approaching, a drop of holy liquid was enough to raise one's cultivation level. Naturally, it attracted many elites to compete for it. Ling Xiao realized that Yu Yangchen had no reaction at all. It was as if he was not interested in the drop of holy liquid at all. Brother Yi, are you not going to compete for this drop of holy liquid? Ling Xiao asked curiously. He. It is just a drop of holy liquid. It is useless. If there are a few hundred drops of holy liquid, I might consider it. Yu Yangchen said disdainfully. It was obvious that he felt that the drop of holy liquid was too little. Ling Xiao was speechless. He was interested in the drop of holy liquid. However, when he saw the people around him who were eager to bid, he gave up. This drop of holy liquid would be auctioned off at a sky-high price. Sure enough, as soon as the woman's voice fell, the crowd began to scramble to be the first to bid. I bid 6 million, 7 million. 7,500,000. The sound of bidding resounded throughout the auction hall, causing the auction to reach its climax. If they could obtain this drop of holy liquid, they would have a higher chance of passing the Great Void Trial and entering the 5 great academies. Almost everyone began to bid without holding back, as if they had gone crazy. Soon, the price of the holy liquid rose steadily, and it soon reached 10 million divine stones, but it didn't stop there. 20 million god stones. At this moment, Peach Blossom Prince's voice rang out again. In the face of Peach Blossom Prince's fame, everyone hesitated. After all, most of the people were god spirits and true gods. Sky god elites were not interested in a drop of the sacred liquid. 20 million godly stones had already exceeded the value of a single drop of saint liquid. Many people immediately gave up. Peach Blossom Young Master's eyes revealed a trace of pride. Clearly, these people were very tactful and did not choose to continue competing with him. Does anyone want to continue bidding? If not, this drop of holy liquid will belong to Peach Blossom Prince. The woman in palace attire smiled at the crowd. 30 million god stones. At this moment, Yu Yangchen actually shouted a sky-high price. Ling Xiao was also stunned. This guy wanted to offend Peach Blossom Prince to death. Indeed, after Peach Blossom Prince heard Yu Yangchen's voice, his face instantly became extremely gloomy. Yu Yangchen. You have guts. I bid 32 million god stones. If you have the ability, continue to bid. Peach Blossom Prince gritted his teeth as he spoke. His eyes were filled with incomparably cold killing intent. Everyone's eyes revealed a trace of a strange look. Some even began to suspect whether Yu Yangchen had a grudge with Peach Blossom Prince. How could he offend Peach Blossom Prince like this? Just as everyone wanted to watch a show, Yu Yangchen smiled and said, I give up. The holy liquid is yours. Yu Yangchen's words made Peach Blossom Prince so angry that he gritted his teeth and spat out a mouthful of blood. This was simply toying with him. No matter what, he couldn't tolerate it. I feel that the value of the holy liquid is too low, so I'll help you. Yu Yangchen said with a smile. Peach Blossom Prince was about to go crazy with anger. This bastard was simply deliberately causing trouble. In an instant, he had an extra 12 million god stones. He felt that he was about to go berserk. If this was not the territory of Golden Stone Pavilion and no one dared to behave atrociously here, Peach Blossom Prince would have rushed out and chopped Yu Yangchen into pieces. Ling Xiao also looked at Yu Yangchen speechlessly. This guy was really good at attracting hatred. This was great. Peach Blossom Young Master would probably keep an eye on them for the next few days and even find an opportunity to kill them. Ling Xiao was not afraid, but he felt that Yu Yangchen was too good at causing trouble. Everyone looked at Yu Yangchen as if they were looking at a dead man. This guy dared to offend Peach Blossom Prince like this. He was definitely dead. No one could save him. In dazzling Gold City, there was no one who dared to make Peach Blossom Prince suffer a loss. In the end, the drop of holy liquid fell into Peach Blossom Prince's hands. Peach Blossom Prince also paid 32 million god stones. His heart was bleeding. On the other hand, the woman in the palace dress was incomparably happy. She did not care whether Peach Blossom Prince was happy or not. She only knew that after selling it at such a high price, her commission would probably be incomparably generous. Next, we will auction the second treasure, Void Elemental Gold. The starting price is 2 million god stones. The woman in the palace dress took out the second treasure. It was a piece of metal the size of a fist. It flowed with silver light and golden light, intertwining with each other. It looked incomparably mysterious. This was the Void Elemental Gold, a top-grade heavenly treasure that could be forged into a supreme holy treasure. There were not many people who were interested in the Void Elemental Gold. Most of them were blacksmiths or tycoons who wanted to buy it and study it. 3 million. 3,500,000. 5 million god stones. Immediately, sparse bids rang out in the palace. The competition was far less intense than the holy liquid. 10 million god stones. Peach Blossom Prince bid again. However, he was only slightly interested. He only wanted to buy it and study it. He did not have the intention to obtain it. However, just as Peach Blossom Prince's voice fell, Yi Liangqin's lazy voice rang out again. 15 million god stones. Yi Liangqin had already received Ling Zhao's instructions to buy the Void Elemental Gold. However, he chose to buy it after Peach Blossom Prince bid. Peach Blossom Prince was so angry that his eyes were spitting fire. He could not wait to strangle Yi Liangqin to death. Chapter 12:16. They thought that Yi Liangqin was purposely causing trouble. Hence, those who wanted to continue bidding gave up. Peach Blossom Prince, if you have the ability, continue bidding. Yi Liangqin shouted as if he wanted to see the world in chaos. Peach Blossom Prince gritted his teeth and his body started to tremble. However, he held it in and sneered, Yi Liangqin, do you think that I will fall for your trick again? You can play with this broken stone by yourself. Yi Liangqin's expression changed. It was as if he had been exposed and he became depressed. Peach Blossom Prince confirmed his guess. Yi Liangqin wanted to trick him again. He could not help but sneer in his heart. Peach Blossom Prince did not plan to buy the Void Primordial Gold anyway. At this moment, he took advantage of the situation and acted as if he had tricked Yi Liangqin. In the end, the lady in the palace dress asked 3 times. Since no one continued to bid, the lady in the palace dress announced that the Void Primordial Gold belonged to Yi Liangqin. As soon as the lady in the palace dress finished speaking, Yi Liangqin's expression changed faster than flipping a book. He laughed and said, ha ha ha. Peach Blossom Prince, you have been tricked. I have been eyeing the Void Primordial Gold for a long time. If not for your help, I would not have been able to buy it so easily. Thank you. After Yi Liangqin's voice was heard, Peach Blossom Prince trembled. He pointed at Yi Liangqin and said, shameless. As soon as he finished speaking, he was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. He almost blacked out and fell to the ground. Prince, do you want me to kill him for you after the auction? Beside Peach Blossom Prince, a complete true God Realm guard said with a murderous look in his eyes. No need. His life is mine. I want him to beg for death. I want him to be tortured to death. Peach Blossom Prince gritted his teeth and said. He hated Yi Liangqin to the extreme. As soon as Yi Liangqin finished speaking, everyone reacted. This guy looked stupid but he was very cunning. He had tricked Peach Blossom Prince again. Some people even started to stay away from Yi Liangqin. They were afraid that they would be implicated because of this guy. Yi Liangqin handed over the Void Primordial Gold proudly. It was as if he did not care about Peach Blossom Prince's threat at all. Ling Zhao was helpless against him. However, Ling Xiao still hoped that Peach Blossom Prince would come and cause trouble for Yi Liangchen. This guy was the legendary saint body of misfortune. Whoever touched him would be unlucky. If the Peach Blossom young master really dared to find trouble with him, he would probably be played to death by Yi Liangchen. Next was the last treasure, the half-step saint artifact, the divine black tortoise armor. Ladies and gentlemen, the next item is the half-step sage treasure that everyone has been waiting for, the divine black tortoise armor. The black tortoise divine armor was a supreme treasure refined from the black tortoise armor of the demon world. However, it was severely damaged during the ancient war. Today, its power was reduced to less than 1%. Although it could only be considered as the weakest half-step saint-level treasure, ordinary godly king-level weapons couldn't break through its defense. Most importantly, even if he couldn't completely refine the black tortoise divine armor, as long as he wore it, experts below the divine king realm wouldn't be able to hurt him. It could be said that he was invincible. If he could obtain the black tortoise divine armor, he would definitely be able to rise to the top in the Great Void's secret realm. As for the benefits of being the champion of the Great Void trial, I don't need to say more. So, let's start the bidding now. The starting price is 50 million divine stones. You can use divine stones or treasures of the same level to exchange for it. As soon as the lady in the palace dress finished speaking, the entire auction hall was in an uproar. Ling Xiao immediately discovered that there were more than 10 divine realm experts. Their eyes were filled with blazing light as they stared at the divine black tortoise armor on the high platform. The divine black tortoise armor was completely black. It looked ancient and mysterious. Although there were many cracks on it and many runes were broken, it still emitted an aura that made people tremble in fear. This was the divine black tortoise armor. I bid 60 million divine stones. A cold voice rang out. It was a young man wearing a black robe and carrying a long saber on his back. Saber intent filled his entire body. His eyes seemed to contain heavenly saber lightning that wanted to annihilate everything. There was no trace of emotion in his eyes. Ling Xiao recognized this person. He was the heartless saber master that he had met on the way to dazzling Gold City, 70 million. An old man with white hair and a beard shouted a sky-high price calmly. His eyes were sharp and his body was filled with killing intent. The black-hearted old man also bid, 72 million. 75 million, 80 million. Those who had the strength to bid started bidding as if they had gone mad. Their eyes were filled with blazing light. The divine black tortoise armor was a half-step saint treasure. It was a great killing weapon that could be used as a clan's treasure. Countless people would pay any price for it. In front of the divine black tortoise armor, the so-called divine stones were just a bunch of worthless stones, 100 million. At this moment, the Peach Blossom young master also made his move. Moreover, he bid a sky-high price of 100 million. It could be said that he was determined to get the divine black tortoise armor. For the divine black tortoise armor, his father, the Lord of Dazzling Gold City, had given him countless treasures and divine stones. I bid 100 million divine stones and my heartless saber technique. The heartless saber master's eyes revealed a trace of sharpness. He instantly bid a sky-high price. What? The heartless saber master is even willing to take out the heartless saber technique? I heard that he obtained the heartless saber technique from an ancient relic. It is an incomplete saint art that is comparable to a divine king's martial art. It can be cultivated to the divine king realm. Someone cried out in surprise, his eyes revealing a trace of shock. The heartless saber technique was the fundamental martial art of the heartless saber master. Even if it was converted into divine stones, it would be worth at least 100 million divine stones. In other words, the heartless saber master had bid 200 million divine stones. Instantly, most people flinched. 200 million divine stones had exceeded the limit of most people. 10 drops of saint liquid and a divine king's martial art, vast ocean 9 heavy waves. The black-hearted old man's eyes flashed sharply. He gritted his teeth and continued to bid. His bid also gave everyone a big fright. Saint liquid, that was 10 drops of saint liquid. Even if 1 drop of saint liquid was worth 20 million divine stones, 10 drops of saint liquid would be worth 200 million divine stones. Everyone had heard of the martial art, vast ocean 9 heavy waves. It was said that it was the ultimate martial art of the vast ocean divine king from millions of years ago. It was not much weaker than the heartless saber technique of the heartless saber master. 300 million divine stones. This sky-high price made everyone shrink back at the sight of it. Even the peach blossom young master's face turned ugly. He had not expected the competition for the black tortoise divine armor to be so fierce. The heartless saber master and the black-hearted old man were famous divine realm experts. They had many treasures. If he could not suppress them, it would be difficult to obtain the black tortoise divine armor. However, when he thought of the secret of the black tortoise divine armor, the peach blossom young master made up his mind. I bid 200 million divine stones and a sage-to-be martial art, Zhou Tian's imperial sword technique. The peach blossom young master's voice was like a clap of thunder that shocked everyone. Even the heartless saber master and the black-hearted old man stood up abruptly. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. A few words echoed in their ears, sage-to-be martial art, Zhou Tian's imperial sword technique. Chapter 12-17. All right. A light flashed in Feng Ya's hand and the primordial frost sword appeared in her palm. She also told Ling Xiao and Yi Liangchen the cultivation method of the Heavenly Frost Sword Energy Technique without holding back. Heavenly Frost Sword Energy Technique? How is this just a godly king martial art? If I'm not wrong, this is probably a saint technique. However, the Heavenly Frost Sword Energy Technique is only the first part. If we can obtain the second part, it will definitely be a complete saint technique. Yi Liangchen's eyes revealed a trace of surprise as he spoke slowly. That's right. It is indeed an incomplete saint technique. However, the primordial frost sword was forged by Master O Yezi. Why would Master O Yezi hide the Heavenly Frost Sword Energy Technique in it? This is really strange. Ling Xiao also could not figure out why the Heavenly Frost Sword Energy Technique was in the Primordial Frost Sword Energy Technique. No matter what, Xiaoya, you should cultivate the Heavenly Frost Sword Energy Technique well. Who knows, you might discover the hidden secret when you cultivate it. Yi Liangchen smiled nonchalantly. That's right. Ling Xiao also nodded and said, Xiaoya, you have the wind spirit constitution. Although you are most compatible with the laws of wind, and frost are one. It is also a good choice for you to cultivate the Heavenly Frost Sword Energy Technique. Feng Ye smiled and said, all right. Thank you, Brother Long and Brother Yi. I will cultivate the Heavenly Frost Sword Energy Technique in my room for the next few days. I will come out when the Great Void Trial begins. There are still 7 days left. It's so boring. If those bastards don't know what's good for them and come looking for death, that would be fun. Yi Liangchen said in a bored manner. He even hoped that those guys would come and rob him. Who knew that just as Yi Liangchen finished speaking, the world was instantly enveloped by darkness. Rumble. The sky above the small courtyard was completely dark. There was even a cold killing intent in the void. Following that, 3 powerful figures instantly appeared in the small courtyard. The 3 figures were all dressed in black. Their mouths and noses were covered, only revealing a pair of cold and greedy eyes. They stared fixedly at Yi Liangchen. Brat, hand over all the treasures on you. Otherwise, die. A cold voice sounded, causing the void to tremble slightly. Oh. It's really what I said. I was just worried that I had nothing to do. I didn't expect that the 3 of you would come here. Yi Liangchen said with a cold smile in his eyes. It's actually heaven-changing talisman. What a method. For the sake of the 3 of us, you're actually able to take out such precious supreme-grade divine talismans. You've really spared no expense. Ling's Heaven's Talisman Realm Talisman. He could see that this small courtyard was enveloped by the heaven-changing earth-changing talisman. The heaven-changing earth-changing talisman was a supreme-grade divine talisman that could form a space of its own. It could mobilize the power of heaven and earth to surround an area and kill people invisibly, making it impossible to guard against. Yes, heaven's talisman back S Xiao's talisman. Xiao the talisman treasure in the end. The talisman treasure of art energy talent. Since you're not being honest, then go to hell. Killing intent flashed in the eyes of the leading black-clothed man. Instantly, the three of them exuded a powerful aura. They charged towards Ling Xiao and the other two at the same time. The cultivation of the three black-clothed men had actually reached the middle stage of true God realm. Their attacks were extremely ruthless. They wanted to kill Ling Xiao and the other two immediately. Obviously, they were afraid that they would be exposed if the battle dragged on. Therefore, they attacked without saying a word. Boom! Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He instantly rushed out like a golden light and blocked in front of Yu Yangchen and Fengya. Then, he threw out a punch. The golden fist instantly swept across the void. It contained a terrifying energy fluctuation. It was as if the surrounding heaven and earth were condensed into this fist. It was boundless, shattering everything. Skyfall hammer. Ling Xiao's indifferent voice sounded. The power of the Skyfall hammer exploded at this moment. This was the first time Ling Xiao attacked after he practiced the three styles. The power of the Skyfall hammer was beyond his expectations. It was extremely terrifying. What? The expressions of the three black-clothed men changed. Ling Xiao's fist was too terrifying. It made them feel as if they were going to be crushed into powder by the myriad of worlds. They were unable to resist. That fist was unstoppable. It was like a chaos divine hammer that descended from the 9 heavens and enveloped all the living beings in the area. Bang! The three black-clothed men tried their best to resist. Their bodies even flickered with light. They tore apart several divine talismans and turned them into a powerful defensive barrier. However, they were still blasted apart by Ling Xiao's fist. The talismans exploded. Divine light blazed and turned into a blazing storm. The three black-clothed men were directly hit by Ling Xiao's fist. Their arms exploded at the same time, turning into a bloody mist. The three of them looked as if they were struck by lightning. Their bodies trembled violently and they suddenly coughed out a mouthful of blood. Middle stage of divine spirit realm. How can you have such powerful combat strength? That fist just now, that's the power of a saint technique? Run! The three black-clothed men trembled. Their eyes were filled with fear. They didn't dare to stay here any longer. They trembled and wanted to run away. You want to run? Hee, you three trash. Stay here. Yu Yangchen was also shocked by Ling Xiao's fist. However, he reacted at this moment. When he saw that the three black-clothed men wanted to run away, he instantly sneered and rushed forward. You're courting death. Killing intent flashed in the eyes of the three black-clothed men. In their eyes, Yu Yangchen was only at the early stage of divine spirit realm. It could be said that they could easily kill him. However, this guy actually came to court death. Naturally, they wouldn't be polite. Whoosh! The leading black-clothed man threw a fist at Yu Yangchen. His fist was blazing. It contained a black light and was full of killing intent. The other two black-clothed men also came from behind Yu Yangchen. The three black-clothed men felt that as long as they could instantly subdue Yu Yangchen, they would be able to make Ling Xiao hesitate. They would also be able to escape unscathed. You're really courting death. Ling Xiao thought inwardly. The corners of his mouth revealed a trace of a smile as he stopped. He wanted to see how evil this kid, Yu Yangchen, was. 3 against 1. Damn shameless things. Your father, curse you to die without a burial place. Yu Yangchen shouted strangely. Suddenly, a light flashed on his body and he disappeared in the middle of the three black-clothed men. When the three black-clothed men heard Yu Yangchen's words, they felt a chill run down their spines. They couldn't control the injuries caused by Ling Xiao's fist. Moreover, their injuries instantly worsened. Bang! The three black-clothed men's bodies started to crack like spider webs. Then, they exploded with a loud bang. Chapter 12:18. Alright. A light flashed in Feng Ya's hand and the primordial frost sword appeared in her palm. She also told Ling Xiao and Yu Yangchen the cultivation method of the Heavenly Frost Sword Energy Technique without holding back. Heavenly Frost Sword Energy Technique? How is this just a godly king martial art? If I'm not wrong, this is probably a saint technique. However, the Heavenly Frost Sword Energy Technique is only the first part. If we can obtain the second part, it will definitely be a complete saint technique. Yu Yangchen's eyes revealed a trace of surprise as he spoke slowly. That's right. It is indeed an incomplete saint technique. However, the primordial frost sword was forged by Master O Yezi. Why would Master O Yezi hide the Heavenly Frost Sword Energy Technique in it? This is really strange. Ling Xiao also could not figure out why the Heavenly Frost Sword Energy Technique was in the Primordial Frost Sword Energy Technique. No matter what, Xiaoya, you should cultivate the Heavenly Frost Sword Energy Technique well. Who knows, you might discover the hidden secret when you cultivate it. Yu Yangchen smiled nonchalantly. That's right. Ling Xiao also nodded and said, Xiaoya, you have the wind spirit constitution. Although you are most compatible with the laws of wind and frost are one. It is also a good choice for you to cultivate the Heavenly Frost Sword Energy Technique. Feng Ye smiled and said, all right. Thank you, Brother Long and Brother Yi. I will cultivate the Heavenly Frost Sword Energy Technique in my room for the next few days. I will come out when the Great Void Trial begins. There are still 7 days left. It's so boring. If those bastards don't know what's good for them and come looking for death, that would be fun. Yu Yangchen said in a bored manner. He even hoped that those guys would come and rob him. Who knew that just as Yu Yangchen finished speaking, the world was instantly enveloped by darkness. Rumble. The sky above the small courtyard was completely dark. There was even a cold killing intent in the void. Following that, 3 powerful figures instantly appeared in the small courtyard. The 3 figures were all dressed in black. Their mouths and noses were covered, only revealing a pair of cold and greedy eyes. They stared fixedly at Yu Yangchen. Brat, hand over all the treasures on you. Otherwise, die. A cold voice sounded, causing the void to tremble slightly. Oh. It's really what I said. I was just worried that I had nothing to do. I didn't expect that the 3 of you would come here. Yu Yangchen said with a cold smile in his eyes. It's actually heaven-changing talisman. What a method. You're actually able to take out such precious supreme-grade divine talismans for the 3 of us. You've really put in a lot of effort. Ling's Heaven's Talisman Realm Talisman. He could see that this small courtyard was enveloped by the heaven-changing earth-changing talisman. The heaven-changing earth-changing talisman was a supreme-grade divine talisman that could form a space of its own. It could mobilize the power of heaven and earth to surround an area and kill people invisibly, making it impossible to guard against. Obviously, the 3 of them were interested in Yu Yangchen's treasures. They did not hesitate to use the heaven-changing earth-changing talisman to cover this small courtyard. They wanted to snatch the treasures from Yu Yangchen's hands. Frost. Life Sword Energy Die. Art Sword Energy. Killing intent flashed in the eyes of the leading black-clothed man. Instantly, the 3 of them exuded a powerful aura. They charged towards Ling Xiao and the other 2 at the same time. The cultivation of the 3 black-clothed men had reached the middle stage of true God realm. Their attacks were extremely ruthless. They wanted to kill Ling Xiao and the other 2 immediately. Obviously, they were afraid that they would be exposed after a long time. So, they attacked without saying a word. Boom! Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He rushed out like a golden light and blocked Yu Yangchen and Fengya. Then, he threw out a punch. The golden fist instantly swept across the void. It contained a terrifying energy fluctuation. It was as if the surrounding heaven and earth were condensed into this fist. It was boundless and could destroy everything. Sky Hammer. Ling Xiao's indifferent voice sounded. The power of the Sky Hammer exploded at this moment. This was the first time Ling Xiao attacked after he practiced the 3 styles. The power of the Sky Hammer was beyond his expectation. It was extremely terrifying. What? The expressions of the 3 black-clothed men changed. Ling Xiao's fist was too terrifying. It made them feel as if they were going to be crushed into powder by the myriad of worlds. They were unable to resist. That fist was unstoppable. It was like a chaos divine hammer that descended from the 9 heavens and enveloped all the living beings in the area. Bang! The 3 black-clothed men tried their best to resist. Their bodies even flickered with light and tore apart a few divine talismans to form a powerful defensive barrier. However, they were still blasted apart by Ling Xiao's fist. The talismans exploded. Divine light blazed and turned into a blazing storm. The 3 black-clothed men were directly hit by Ling Xiao's fist. Their arms exploded at the same time, turning into a bloody mist. The 3 of them looked as if they were struck by lightning. Their bodies trembled violently and they coughed out a mouthful of blood. Middle stage of Divine Spirit Realm. How can you have such powerful combat strength? That fist just now, that's the power of a saint technique? Run! The 3 black-clothed men trembled. Their eyes were filled with fear. They didn't dare to stay here any longer. They trembled and wanted to run away. You want to run? Hee hee, you 3 trash. Stay here. Yu Yangchen was also shocked by Ling Xiao's fist. However, he came back to his senses at this moment. When he saw the 3 black-clothed men trying to run away, he sneered and rushed forward. You're courting death. Killing intent flashed in the eyes of the 3 black-clothed men. In their eyes, Yu Yangchen was only at the early stage of Divine Spirit Realm. It could be said that they could kill him with a wave of their hand. Since this guy was courting death, they naturally wouldn't be polite. Whoosh! The leading black-clothed man threw a punch at Yu Yangchen. His fist was blazing and contained a black light. It was full of killing intent. The other 2 black-clothed men also came from behind Yu Yangchen. The 3 black-clothed men felt that as long as they could subdue Yu Yangchen, they would be able to make Ling Xiao hesitate. They would also be able to escape unscathed. You're really courting death. Ling Xiao thought inwardly. A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth as he stopped. He wanted to see how evil Yu Yangchen was. 3 against 1, you shameless bastards. I, your father, curse you to die without a burial place. Yu Yangchen let out a strange cry. Suddenly, a light flashed on his body and he disappeared in the middle of the 3 black-clothed men. When the 3 black-clothed men heard Yu Yangchen's words, they felt a chill run down their spines. They couldn't control the injuries caused by Ling Xiao's fist. Their injuries instantly worsened. Bang! Chapter 12:19. Only the primordial spirits of the 3 men in black were left in the void. They were shivering and their eyes were filled with terror. They looked at Yu Yangchen as though they were looking at a ghost. Yu Yangchen had frightened them completely. Because of Yu Yangchen's words, not only did their injuries worsen, but there was also a mysterious force that destroyed their physical bodies completely. Only 3 primordial spirits were left. Run! The 3 black-clothed men were completely frightened. Their eyes were filled with terror, and they desperately wanted to escape. Swallow! A sharp light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes, and the engulfing deity sea instantly enveloped this part of the void, including the 3 black-robed men. In the space created by the heaven and earth-changing talisman, Ling Xiao was not worried that the aura of the engulfing secret skill would leak out. Hence, he used it directly and swallowed the primordial spirits of the 3 men in black. Although the three men struggled violently, they could not escape from the restraint of the engulfing sea in the end. They were completely submerged. The three men were so unlucky. After being severely injured by Ling Xiao, they were hit by Yu Yangchen's power of misfortune. Their bodies were destroyed and they died without a burial place. Brother Yi, you are so powerful. Ling Xiao could not help but admire Yu Yangchen. He was simply the son of God. Just now, Ling Xiao could feel that although the three men in black were hit by Ling Xiao's skyfall hammer and their physical bodies were severely injured, they had the cultivation of a real god after all. They had temporarily stabilized their injuries and even had a chance to escape. However, because of Yu Yangchen's words, the three men in black's injuries worsened instantly and their physical bodies exploded. You are too kind. The three of them are too weak. Yap Liangchen said humbly, which was rare for him. However, his face was full of pride. It was as if he was telling everyone to praise him and worship him. After the three men in black were killed, the effect of the heaven and earth changing talisman disappeared completely. Heaven and earth returned to normal and the sun shone brightly. It was as though everything that happened just now was just a dream. Ling Xiao could feel that there were a few divine thoughts that were filled with evil intentions wandering around the small courtyard. After the heaven and earth changing talisman disappeared, the divine thoughts immediately probed the small courtyard. A bunch of bastards. Do you really think that I can't deal with you? Get the hell out of here. Yu Yangchen shouted angrily. Boom. Yu Yangchen's voice was like a clap of thunder. Those evil spirits felt as if they were struck by lightning. They let out a muffled groan and instantly retreated. They disappeared without a trace. The three leaders of the Talisman Void's stronghold clearly used the heaven-altering earth-changing talisman just now. How did they vanish so quickly? Did they really die in the hands of those three fellows? It can't be. Those three fellows are only at the divine spirit realm, so how could they possibly kill the three leaders of the talisman stronghold? Looks like those three brats aren't simple. Maybe someone is secretly protecting them. Looks like I still have to be cautious and not act rashly. A few strands of divine consciousness intertwined with each other, and in the end, they all slowly retreated. Dazzling Gold City, City Lord's Mansion. Reporting to the young master, we have already found out that the brat who fought with you for the elemental yang pill is called Yu Yangchen. A man and a woman came with him. The man is called Long Outyen, and the woman's name is unknown. However, Yu Yangchen once sold a saint's finger at the Golden Stone restaurant and bought the Yuan Shuang holy sword. He offended Yun Chen, and many people know that they have treasures on them. They all want to attack them. A general with a powerful aura reported respectfully to the Peach Blossom Prince. Yu Yangchen. Long Outyen. Very good. It looks like they want to participate in the Great Void Trial. However, since they dared to snatch the elemental yang pill, let's see if they have the life to participate in the Great Void Trial. Keep an eye on them. When the Great Void's secret realm opens, it will be the time of their death. The Peach Blossom Prince's eyes flashed with killing intent. Anyway, there were only 7 days until the Great Void Trial opened. He did not want to cause any trouble, so he was prepared to kill Yu Yangchen and the other two in the Great Void's secret realm. Yes. The general turned around and left after reporting the matter. A light flashed in the Peach Blossom Prince's hand, and the black tortoise divine armor floated up, emitting a mysterious and ancient aura. The runes on it seemed to be the carvings on the black tortoise divine beast, and were branded with the principles of heaven and earth. A light flashed in the palace, and an extraordinary middle-aged man in a black robe appeared in front of the Peach Blossom Prince. He looked majestic and domineering. His eyes were sharp, and his body was strong. His body emitted a powerful sword intent, as if it could destroy everything. He had an invincible aura. However, his figure looked very illusory. It was clear that he was an incarnation condensed by divine power. Father. The black tortoise divine armor is in our hands. With the black tortoise divine armor, we can open the inheritance ground of the black tortoise saint and obtain the black tortoise saint's treasures and martial arts. The middle-aged man in front of him was the dazzling gold city lord, Lu Yangfeng. The Peach Blossom Prince immediately stood up respectfully, and his eyes were filled with excitement. Very good. The Great Void's secret realm is incomparably mysterious. The 5 major forces have explored it for tens of millions of years, but they still haven't completely explored it. If it wasn't for your big brother, we wouldn't have been able to discover the Black Tortoise Saint's inheritance. If you can obtain the Black Tortoise Saint's inheritance, you will definitely be able to stand out in a short period of time. In the future, you might even be able to enter the War God Hall and become a true disciple. It won't be impossible for you to become a hall master. Lu Yangfeng said slowly, and his eyes revealed a trace of sharpness. Father, don't worry. I will definitely enter the War God Hall. I heard that the War God Hall Master has disappeared for 1,000,000 years. The War God Hall is preparing to appoint a new War God Hall Master. They are going to select a new War God Hall Master from among the disciples. Since I have obtained the Black Tortoise Saint's inheritance, I will definitely be able to defeat all the heroes and become the War God Hall Master. The Peach Blossom Prince said ambitiously, and his eyes were filled with excitement. Very good. I will wait for the day you become the War God Hall Master. Lu Yangfeng said with satisfaction. Father, did you make a breakthrough in your cultivation during this seclusion? The Great Void's secret realm is controlled by the 5 major forces. When the time comes, will you really be able to descend into the Great Void's secret realm? The Peach Blossom Prince asked doubtfully. I'm still a little short. The Divine King realm isn't that easy to break through. However, don't worry. The Great Void's secret realm is vast and boundless. Your trial ground is only a small part of it. I have my ways to enter the Great Void's secret realm. Hee, this time, it's not just me. Many evil monsters have jumped out. Lu Yangfeng sighed softly, and a strong fighting spirit appeared in his eyes. That's good. With Father around, I will definitely be able to become the champion of the Great Void trial this time. The Peach Blossom Prince took a deep breath, and a trace of excitement appeared in his eyes. Chapter 12:20. What's this? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as an ancient jade talisman appeared in his hand. The primordial spirits of the 3 black-clothed men were suppressed by Ling Zhao's sky-swallowing divine sea. Their primordial spirits and spiritual intelligence were slowly being destroyed. When Ling Zhao checked the treasures in their small worlds, he was most curious about the ancient jade talisman other than some divine stones and elixirs. The jade talisman was the size of a baby's palm. It was square and there were mysterious engravings on it. It looked ancient as if it contained some kind of mysterious law of heaven and earth. It looks like a talisman, but I can't activate the power in it. It looks very old. It has existed for at least millions of years. It should be a treasure from some ancient ruins. Yi Liangchen took it and looked at it carefully before he said slowly. Alchemy, weapon forging, talisman crafting, and formation carving were the 4 main auxiliary professions. Although martial arts was the foundation and core, alchemy, weapon forging, talisman crafting, and formation carving were also very noble. The origins of these 4 professions were very ancient. It was even difficult to verify. It was said that they had existed since the beginning of the era. Over the years, many geniuses had become sages through alchemy, weapon forging, talisman crafting, and formation carving. All of them were very powerful and were respected by many people. Ling Zhao's heart skipped a beat. He realized that the jade talisman had made the wordless heavenly book tremble slightly. However, when Ling Zhao sent the jade talisman into his sea of consciousness, the wordless heavenly book did not have any other reaction. Ling Zhao increased the speed of refining the primordial spirits of the 3 black-clothed men. Soon, he found the relevant information from their memories. The 3 leaders of the talisman stronghold participated in the trial of the Great Void 1,000 years ago. This jade talisman was obtained from the Great Void Mystery Land. Ling Zhao's heart skipped a beat. These 3 men in black were the 3 leaders of the Fukong stronghold. In fact, they were 3 bandits. 1,000 years ago, they were only at the Supreme Being realm. They had participated in the Great Void Trial. Although they were eliminated in the end, they had obtained many opportunities and their cultivations had advanced by leaps and bounds. For example, many of the talismans used in the previous battle were extremely powerful. They had obtained them from the Great Void's secret realm, and this jade talisman was obtained from a savage tribe. Back then, the savages had treated it as a treasure and worshipped it. However, even after studying it for a long time, they still couldn't figure out the origin and use of this jade talisman. Perhaps I can find out the origin of this jade talisman in the Great Void's secret realm. Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. He had always felt that this jade talisman was extraordinary. There were not many treasures that could cause the wordless heavenly book to react, but all of them were extremely precious. The 3 leaders of the Fukong stronghold had been killed silently in the small courtyard where Ling Xiao and the other 2 lived. This had intimidated many people who had designs on them. Therefore, the following 7 days passed very peacefully. In these 7 days, Ling Xiao had used the sky-devouring divine fire to fuse the void primordial gold with the sky-devouring sword. The sky-devouring sword had also been upgraded to the level of a supreme-grade divine artifact, and it was still improving. Ling Xiao estimated that if he could find precious heavenly treasures in the Great Void's secret realm, perhaps the sky-devouring sword could be upgraded to the level of a godly king weapon. One had to know that in the lower realm, although a supreme weapon already had a weapon spirit, the weapon spirit of a divine artifact would not be very useful after passing the divine tribulation. Only a holy treasure could have a complete weapon spirit. The innate spirit king in the sky-devouring sword was very special. It could be said that just the weapon spirit alone had already given the sky-devouring sword the potential to be upgraded to a holy treasure. The sky-devouring sword was like a human who cultivated on its own. As long as it continued to devour various heavenly treasures, divine metals, and precious metals, it would be able to continuously upgrade its level. During these 7 days, more and more people came to the dazzling gold city. Countless young experts wanted to participate in the Great Void Trial. Although utmost exalted realm experts could also participate in the Great Void Trial, the majority of them were divine spirit realm experts. After all, the Great Void's secret realm was filled with danger. In the past, many experts had died in the Great Void's secret realm. Even so, there were more than 10,000 divine spirit experts in dazzling gold city. 7 days passed in a flash. Rumble. On this day, an ancient and vast voice resounded in the sky above dazzling gold city. Everyone opened their eyes at the same time. In the sky above dazzling gold city, an ancient door appeared. It was dazzling, divine light was dense, and endless divine light was gushing out. It seemed to lead to another vast world. The Great Void's secret realm has opened. Everyone who wants to participate in the Great Void Trial, please pass through here and enter the Great Void's secret realm. Light flickered in the void. The figure of dazzling gold city's lord, Lu Yangfeng, appeared beside the ancient door. His vigorous and majestic voice resounded in dazzling gold city. The Great Void's secret realm has opened. Ha ha ha. Let's go. This time, I must enter the 5 great academies. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We must not miss it. As long as we enter the 5 great academies, we will be able to enter the 5 great holy lands in the future. This is an opportunity for us. If we don't take it, we will be punished. Let's go. In the entire dazzling gold city, divine thoughts intertwined. All the genius experts who were preparing to participate in the Great Void Trial revealed incomparably excited and emotional expressions. One by one, figures rose into the sky and flew towards the ancient door at lightning speed. The Great Void Trial is finally opening. Ha ha ha. Brother Long, Xiaoye, let's go. Yi Liangchen was also incomparably excited. In these 7 days, Ling Xiao and Fengye had been cultivating, but he was about to go crazy. After enduring 7 days with great difficulty, the Great Void's secret realm had opened. This made Yi Liangchen extremely excited. All right. Let's go. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, and a trace of light flashed in his eyes. In order to inherit the will of the Scarlet Dragon War God, they had to pass the Great Void Trial and enter Ares College. Then, they had to enter the War God Temple. The immortal Holy Lands in the Divine World were extremely strict when it came to accepting disciples. Basically, they were personally nurtured by themselves. They rarely accepted those who had left home halfway. This also ensured the loyalty of the disciples. Ling Xiao and the other two soared into the sky and flew towards the ancient door in the void. At the same time, Ling Xiao also felt that there were more than 10 figures following behind them unhurriedly. It was obvious that they were up to no good. They really don't know what's good for them. Ling Xiao smiled coldly and ignored them. Instead, he flew directly towards the door of light. Ah! Why won't you let me in? I want to participate in the Great Void Trial. A miserable cry rang out. In the void, a young man in a black robe was directly sent flying by the door of light. He had no way of entering the door of light. His eyes were filled with unwillingness, but there was nothing he could do. This passage was set up by the people of the 5 great academies. Even the dazzling Gold City Lord only had the authority to maintain order. In order to participate in the Great Void Trial, one had to be within 100 years old. At the same time, one's cultivation had to be between the Sovereign Realm and the True God Realm. Chapter 12:21. The black-robed young man was obviously over 100 years old. Naturally, he was recognized by the light door. There were people who wanted to take advantage of the situation and enter the light door. However, in the end, they were thrown out because they did not meet the requirements. The others just watched coldly from the side and even mocked them. Country bumpkins, how dare you participate in the Great Void Trial with your little cultivation? Be careful not to die in the hands of those talisman beasts and savages. Ha ha ha. At this moment, Yun Chen and a dozen Divine Spirit Realm subordinates mocked and ridiculed Yi Liangchen. Then, with a loud laugh, he swaggered away and directly entered the light gate. Hee hee, little brat, when we are in the Great Void's secret realm, I will teach you a good lesson. Yi Liangchen sneered and did not care at all. Yi Liangchen and Long Outyan, right? How dare you steal my Yuan Yang pill? I will wait for you in the Great Void's secret realm. Peach Blossom Prince looked coldly at Yi Liangchen and Ling Xiao. He opened the folding fan in his hand and also led a group of guards into the Great Void's secret realm. Lu Yangfeng, who was beside the light door, acted as if he did not see anything. He just floated there to maintain order. It was as if he did not even look at Yi Liangchen and Ling Xiao. These scums dare to threaten me, Yi Liangchen. It seems that if I don't teach them a lesson, they will not know how many eyes I have. Yi Liangchen sneered. Ignore them. Let's go. Ling Xiao said indifferently. He did not care about Yun Chen and Peach Blossom Prince's threats at all. He led Yi Liangchen and Fengya into the light door. Rumble. The surrounding light was bright and the laws intertwined. It was as if the void was distorted. Ling Xiao faintly felt that they had been sent to an extremely far place. When they opened their eyes, they appeared in a huge square. Is this the Great Void Ancient City? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and he began to look around. Although the Great Void's secret realm was called a secret realm, it was actually an extremely vast world. According to the Scarlet Dragon War God's memory, the known area of the Great Void's secret realm was probably not much smaller than the Grand Heaven region. There were even many unknown areas. Within the Great Void Mystic Realm, there were countless ancient demonic beasts. However, those demonic beasts were adept at using the power of runes on their bodies. Hence, they were also known as rune beasts. There were also some living beings in the Great Void Mystic Realm. Those living beings looked no different from humans, but they ate raw meat and drank blood. They lived the life of a savage tribe and were extremely cruel. Those creatures were called savages, or talisman people. This was because their bodies were engraved with all sorts of runes. The more runes there were and the more complex they were, the more powerful they were. There were even some powerful rune men that were comparable to human godly kings. They had the power to destroy the world at every turn. Therefore, the number of people who participated in the Great Void trial in the past was not small. The ancient city of the Great Void was a massive city in the Great Void's secret realm. It was occupied by the 5 factions and had set up powerful formations, making it the base for the Great Void trial. Everyone who wanted to participate in the Great Void trial would gather in the Great Void ancient city before entering the safe zone of the Great Void's secret plane to undergo the trial. At this moment, Ling Xiao sensed that there were actually over 100,000 people in the ancient city, and there were still people entering the city incessantly. As expected of the Great Void trial, it actually attracted so many genius experts. Ling Xiao exclaimed in his heart. The Great Void trial could be said to be a grand event that swept through the grand celestial realm. Not only was entering the 5 great academies an irresistible temptation, but more importantly, there were also many opportunities and treasures in the Great Void's secret plane. Some people had even obtained the inheritance of ancient experts. Killing was prohibited in the ancient city of the Great Void. Therefore, although Ling Xiao felt that some people were full of hostility towards each other, he only glared at them and left. He did not dare to fight here. Brother Long, there are actually so many genius experts. Ha ha ha. This will definitely be fun. What do you think the content of the Great Void trial will be? Yi Liangchen looked at the surrounding crowd excitedly and asked Ling Xiao. It's nothing more than hunting talisman beasts or talisman people, right? This should be a feast for killing. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he said indifferently. The Scarlet Dragon War God's memory did not have much information about the Great Void's secret plane, but Ling Xiao knew a thing or two about the purpose of the Great Void trial. The Great Void's secret plane could be said to be shared by the 5 great forces. When the Great Void's secret plane was first discovered, it even attracted the attention of the saints of the 5 great forces. They even used their supreme divine abilities to plunder all kinds of treasures and inheritances in the Great Void's secret plane. The treasures in the Great Void's secret plane had probably been plundered long ago. That was why it became a place for the Great Void trial and was controlled by the 5 great academies. The most important thing in the Great Void trial was naturally to choose the students of the 5 great academies. Secondly, it was to use up the talisman beasts and talisman people and plunder the remaining treasures. Therefore, the rules of the Great Void trial in the past were very simple. It was almost set up for killing. It's too boring to fight and kill. If we can dig up the treasures of a saint, we'll be rich. Yi Liangchen said excitedly. In the past, the treasures of saints had appeared in the Great Void trial, and the people who found them were directly accepted as disciples of the 5 great academies. However, the probability of this was not high. After all, the Great Void's secret plane had been explored by the saints of the 5 great forces. Could it be that you were more powerful than the saints? A day later, hundreds of thousands of people had gathered in the Great Void ancient city, and most of them were in the divine spirit realm. Only a small portion of the Supremes were in the Great Void realm, and most of them wanted to fish in troubled waters. All the passageways were closed, and 5 figures with terrifying auras instantly appeared in the void. Rumble. The void trembled, and rays of divine light were dazzling. The 5 figures stood indomitable as if they were holding up the sky. Immediately, everyone could not help but tremble. 5 divine kings. A bright light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes as well. Those 5 figures were clearly God King experts. The leader was an old man with white hair and a beard. He was dressed in a golden robe and had a youthful face and white hair. He had a sage-like demeanor and a very amiable smile. His eyes were incomparably deep, as if they contained the vast starry sky. Beside him stood an extremely beautiful woman in a white dress, but she looked very cold and arrogant, as if she was otherworldly. There was a burly man in black armor with his black hair fluttering in the wind. His face was dignified and domineering. There was a young man in black with an ancient sword on his back. Sword intent rose from his body, and it was incomparably vast. There was also a middle-aged man with a sinister face and an incomparably cold aura. Chapter 12:22. Tong Yuan. Lu Shuling. Overlord. Jian Chen. Ji Guyuan. These 5 names could be said to be thunderous in the Grand Celestial region. It wasn't that their cultivation was strong. Although a divine king could dominate a region, they weren't the strongest. The main reason was because of their identities as the deans of the 5 great academies. Every great void trial was personally hosted by the deans of the 5 great academies. The arrival of the 5 great academies also meant that the great void trial had officially begun. Everyone's eyes were filled with excitement and respect. The entire ancient Great Void City was silent as everyone raised their heads to look at the 5 figures in the sky. Everyone. I am Tong Yuan, the Dean of Ares College. I will be hosting the Great Void Trial this time. The white-haired old man smiled at the crowd. Wang. With a wave of his sleeve, streaks of light fell like rain, instantly landing on each person's body with incomparable precision. They were snow-white tokens with the ancient words, Great Void, engraved on them. The tokens in your hands are called Great Void tokens. When you encounter danger in the trial, you can crush them and send you back to the ancient Great Void City in 3 breaths. However, if you crush the Great Void token, it means that you have automatically given up on the trial and are eliminated. Tong Yuan's voice was extremely deep and resounded in everyone's ears. It was extremely clear as he explained the rules of the Great Void Trial this time. The Great Void Trial this time is the same as the previous ones. The trial will last for a year. Your mission is to kill rune beasts and rune humans. For Supreme Being Realm experts, killing Supreme Being rune beasts or rune humans is worth 10 points. Killing Divine Spirit Realm rune beasts or rune humans is worth 100 points. Killing True God Realm rune beasts or rune humans is worth 1,000 points. The rules for Divine Spirit Realm experts are the same. The Great Void tokens in your hands will record the points that each of you has obtained. Of course, if you are willing, you can also give your points to others. After a year, those who are ranked in the top 1,000 will become disciples of the 5 great academies. The rest will be eliminated. Tong Yuan's voice was extremely clear as he explained the rules of the Great Void Trial in detail. Many people who knew about the Great Void Trial also realized that there was no difference between the Great Void Trial this time and the past. This was the simplest rule. One only needed to keep killing and then snatch points. Even when the person who made this rule made the rule, he deliberately let everyone kill each other to snatch points. One could imagine that the upcoming Great Void Trial would be a bloody trial. Not only would countless talisman beasts and talisman humans die, but many participants would also die here. However, although everyone's expressions were grave, and some Supreme Being experts were even a little frightened, no one chose to withdraw. This was a great opportunity, and no one was willing to give it up. Even if there was a slim chance of survival, he still had to give it a try. In addition, the top 50 of the Great Void Trial scoreboard can freely choose which academy they want to join, while the rest will be chosen by us. In particular, the champion of this Great Void Trial will be rewarded with 10 drops of sacred liquid from our 5 great academies. Tong Yuan smiled and released another explosive piece of news. It was fine that the top 50 of the scoreboard could freely choose their academies, but the champion would be rewarded with 10 drops of sacred liquid, which immediately made everyone's breathing quicken. 10 drops of sacred liquid would be worth more than 200 million divine stones according to the normal market price, not to mention that the sacred liquid was a treasure that had a price but no market. Even if it was worth 500 million divine stones, there would probably be people who would go crazy to buy it. Even a heavenly god expert would find it difficult to take out so many divine stones. Perhaps only a divine king expert would have such a foundation. The champion would be able to obtain 10 drops of sacred liquid, which immediately made everyone excited. The champion will definitely be me. Peach Blossom Prince clenched his fists, and a sharp glint appeared in his eyes. Alright, I now announce that the Great Void Trial has officially begun. Tong Yuan said slowly, and 2 rays of divine light seemed to shoot out from his eyes. Boom! The heavens and earth shook, and a huge scoreboard appeared in the sky above the Great Void Ancient City. There were countless names on it, and as long as one imprinted their name on the Great Void token, it would naturally appear on the scoreboard. Now, everyone's points were naturally 0. The Great Void ancient city trembled slightly, and a huge rainbow bridge that spanned hundreds of millions of miles instantly appeared in front of everyone. A vast world appeared in the distance, and majestic essence of heaven and earth rushed towards them. The Great Void trial has begun, let's go. Everyone's eyes were filled with incomparable excitement as they flew towards the vast world. The huge rainbow bridge was resplendent, and it actually enveloped everyone. Moreover, it instantly split into billions of rays of light. This was a random teleportation, and it was also to prevent everyone from gathering together. Everyone was distributed in different places. Immediately, rays of light descended, and Ling Xiao, Yi Liangchen, and Feng Ye were naturally separated and entered the trial ground. Fellow Lu, there are many good seedlings in the Great Void trial this time. It seems that we will be able to take in another batch of good disciples. Tong Yuan looked at Lu Shuling beside him and smiled slightly. Although Lu Shuling was the principal of the Imperial College, Tong Yuan knew that Lu Shuling was extraordinary. She was the personal disciple of a sage, and she even had hopes of becoming the Dao sovereign of the Imperial Dao Palace. Her talent was unparalleled, and she was incomparably powerful. Even the tyrant, Jian Chen, and Ji Guyuan looked at Lu Shuling with a hint of respect in their eyes. Their talent is just average. Lu Shuling said indifferently, and her voice was ethereal and cold. Tong Yuan smiled bitterly when he heard that. He knew that Lu Shuling's standards were extremely high, but he did not expect that among hundreds of thousands of people, there was not a single person that Lu Shuling liked. Cough cough. Fellow Taoists, I'm afraid that many people will be restless when the Great Void's secret realm opens, and they will jump out. However, we should take this opportunity to explore the Great Void's secret realm. If we can find part of the Emperor's inheritance, it will be the most important thing for us. Tong Yuan directly changed the topic. When they heard Tong Yuan mention the Emperor's inheritance, not only the tyrant, Jian Chen, and Ji Guyuan, but even Lu Shuling's eyes revealed a hint of anticipation. They had opened the Great Void's secret realm countless times, and the most important thing was that they wanted to find the Emperor's inheritance. However, it was a pity that countless years had passed, and they still did not find anything. Fellow Taoist Tong is right. Our main bodies have already rushed there, and it's good to let those people explore the way first. It's fine if they can't find anything, but if they really find something, we can just kill them. The tyrant also smiled coldly, and his eyes revealed a hint of domineering sharpness. Chapter 12:23. The place where Ling Xiao landed was a lush primeval forest. Ancient trees towered into the sky with old vines entwined around them. The canopy was like a dome that covered the sky. Only a faint light flickered, causing the surroundings to be incomparably dark. The Great Void's secret realm that only opens once every 1,000 years actually has so many precious and sacred herbs. Could it be that the Great Void's secret realm is really a great world? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He saw that there were many precious medicines and even sacred medicines growing in the surrounding forest. He could even smell a trace of intoxicating fragrance that contained the fluctuation of divinity. That was the aura of divine medicine. It had to be said that the Great Void's secret realm was too big. Even the area isolated by the 5 great academies was incomparably vast, spanning hundreds of millions of miles. After so many years, there was no way to explore it clearly. In this vast area, there were countless powerful talisman beasts and talisman tribes that appeared and disappeared mysteriously. When Ling Xiao was in the Great Void ancient city, his perception wasn't very clear. However, when he truly came to this vast land, Ling Xiao felt the vastness of this world. In this place, even supremes would find it difficult to fly. Only immortals could fly in the sky. The space here was incomparably firm and contained a mysterious power of law. Ling Xiao carefully activated the Heavens Will secret technique. He could faintly see that there were mysterious lines of law intertwining in the void. If he could grasp the power of those lines of law, he would be able to control this world. Is that the power of talismans? Ling Xiao's eyes trembled. He felt that the power was very similar to the lines on the jade talismans. But in just a moment, Ling Xiao felt his eyes dry up and hurt. He had a feeling that he was going to cry. His vision became blurry, and the law lines in front of him instantly disappeared. The so-called Heaven's Will secret technique that Ling Xiao was currently activating was actually an incomplete part of the second Heavenly Dipper's secret technique. It allowed Ling Xiao to see a trace of Heaven's secrets. However, in order to completely see the world, Ling Xiao had to obtain the complete Heaven's Will secret technique. When he thought about the mission of collecting the 12 sky arts, Ling Xiao felt that time was very tight. After the 12 sky arts, there were the 12 sacred grounds. These 12 sacred grounds might not necessarily be the strongest sacred grounds in the divine realm, but they were already the most ancient, the most mysterious, and the most resourceful sacred grounds. Take the War God's Temple for example. Many people knew that the War God's Temple was incomparably powerful. However, very few people knew the War God's Temple's true background. Most likely, even the War God's Temple's disciples would find it difficult to know. As for the heaven battling secret technique, it was only the weakest of the 12 heaven arts. One could imagine how terrifying the 12 sacred grounds were. Especially the secret technique of destiny. According to the Scarlet Dragon Wargod's memories, Ling Xiao guessed that the secret technique of destiny was in the Destiny Shrine. The Fortune Shrine in the God world was like a divine dragon. It was impossible to see its full appearance, but it had the power to shake the entire God world. There were even legends that said that the Fane of Destiny had existed since the beginning of the era. Since Ling Xiao had obtained the wordless heavenly book, he was destined to stand against the 12 holy lands. Thus, before his identity was exposed, he had to work hard in cultivation and borrow the power of the War God Hall to increase his strength. Ling Xiao suppressed the thoughts in his heart and began to move forward. This time, he still had to fight for the position of the champion of the Great Void Trial. The 10 drops of holy liquid were also quite tempting to Ling Xiao. Furthermore, becoming the champion of the Great Void Trial would be extremely important for him to gain a foothold in Ares College and enter the War God Hall. Roar! At this moment, a powerful roar of a beast came from the forest in front of him. It was ancient and vigorous, and it shook the forest. Rumble! The branches in front of him swayed, and the earth trembled. A ferocious and monstrous aura rushed towards him, accompanied by a strange energy fluctuation. A huge leopard that was hundreds of feet tall walked out of the forest. Its body was engraved with many mysterious patterns that intertwined like lines. As it walked, it kept moving up and down. It looked vigorous and majestic, and its blood was unparalleled. Its eyes were filled with murderous intent as it stared at Ling Xiao. Talisman Beast? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He never thought that he would be so lucky to encounter a talisman beast. The talisman beast that looked like a leopard in front of him had an aura that had reached the peak of the divine spirit realm. Furthermore, Ling Xiao could see a trace of human-like ridicule and cruelty in its eyes. It was obvious that this talisman beast had a certain level of intelligence. Furthermore, Ling Xiao finally understood why it was called a talisman beast. It was because the strange lines on their bodies were like a medium that communicated with the power of the heavens and earth, bringing them great power. Roar! The leopard suddenly opened its bloody mouth and let out a thunderous roar. A fishy wind blew towards Ling Xiao's face, and the muscles on its body tightened. A powerful energy fluctuation spread out, and it looked like it was about to attack. Let me see what's so different about this so-called talisman beast. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he sneered. He didn't care whether the leopard understood him or not, and he threw a punch at the leopard. Boom! This was the God of War King Fist. The golden fist imprint was incomparably fierce. Ling Xiao's body moved up and down like a divine dragon, and the power in his body rose as he suddenly threw a punch at the leopard. Ling Xiao didn't use the power of the 3 styles of sky-encompassing hammer. He was afraid that he would kill the leopard with a single punch. Even though this so-called talisman beast seemed to be stronger than the demonic beasts and divine beasts of the divine realm. The killing intent in the leopard's eyes rose as if the ant in front of it actually dared to attack it, and it was infuriated. Therefore, it didn't hold back and suddenly pounced towards Ling Xiao. Its incomparably sharp claws smashed towards Ling Xiao's head. When the leopard attacked, Ling Xiao felt something different. Not only did these talisman beasts have incomparably fierce power, the key was that they could mobilize the power of the heavens and earth. The lines on the leopard's claws lit up, and the radiance was dazzling. It guided the power of the heavens and earth to descend, as if it was some kind of fire law, and it instantly caused the leopard's claws to burn. This claw contained the pure power of fire, and it made Ling Xiao exclaim in admiration. These talisman beasts were indeed extraordinary. But that was it. Their power didn't exceed Ling Xiao's expectations, and they still only had the power of the divine spirit realm. And in the divine spirit realm, Ling Xiao's battle prowess could be said to be invincible. Boom! The golden fist imprint exploded, and suddenly collided with the leopard. Chapter 12:24. Kacha. The flames exploded, and the leopard's 100 feet tall body smashed several towering ancient trees in the distance. Under the effect of the flames, the trees began to burn fiercely. The leopard seemed to have been knocked unconscious. It stood up with a snort and looked at Ling Xiao with an even more ferocious expression. Roar! It roared once again. This time, the lines on its head lit up and rippled out like water waves, turning into a huge torrent of sound waves that shrouded Ling Xiao. At the same time, its huge body soared into the sky and opened its bloody mouth to bite Ling Xiao. It actually wanted to swallow Ling Xiao directly. What a strange sound wave technique! Ling Xiao also exclaimed in admiration. The leopard's sound wave technique was really something. If an ordinary expert at the peak of the divine spirit realm was here, they would probably be caught off guard and be swallowed by the leopard. Knowing that these talisman beasts could mobilize the mysterious power of law, Ling Xiao didn't think that he would be able to come out alive after being swallowed by the leopard. Unfortunately, the sound wave technique didn't have any effect on Ling Xiao. It wasn't just because of the wordless heavenly book. More importantly, Ling Xiao's primordial spirit was incomparably powerful. It was clear and flawless, indestructible, and had an immortal aura. Ordinary primordial spirit attacks had no effect on him. Star-picking hand. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, and his hand stretched out toward the talisman beast. The second of the three styles, star-picking hand. When Ling Xiao used the star-picking hand, it seemed to have an incomparably profound concept. In a trance, his hand seemed to have traversed hundreds of millions of miles, turning into the hand of the celestial emperor. It could reach the 9 heavens, pluck the stars and grab the moon, and descend into the 9 underworlds. It could lock the gods and capture ghosts. It could even dig a hole in heaven and earth. The leopard widened its eyes in disbelief. It realized that Ling Xiao's star-picking hand seemed to be very slow, but it was extremely fast. Before it could even react, Ling Xiao had already left a bloody hole in its body and suddenly pulled out the talisman bone in its heart. An intense pain assaulted it, and the leopard let out an incomparably miserable cry. It was simply about to faint from the pain. And the energy in its body seemed to have been sucked dry. It suddenly fell from the sky and ruthlessly smashed onto the ground, turning into a pile of mud. Its eyes finally revealed an incomparably terrified expression. That was its talisman bone. To a talisman beast, the talisman bone was its lifeblood, and it carried over 90% of its strength. Moreover, it was a precious treasure that allowed it to communicate with the energy of talismans. Without the talisman bone, its cultivation would probably fall by a few levels and be unable to recover. It was similar to the destruction of a god's divinity. For a talisman beast, having a talisman bone taken away was a fate worse than death. Is this a rune bone? It's a very special power. No wonder so many people are willing to participate in the Great Void trials. This rune bone is a natural divine weapon embryo. It contains divine laws. As long as it is refined slightly, it will become a powerful divine weapon. Ling Xiao sighed softly. The talisman beasts and talisman men's talisman bones were the talisman bones. After so many sessions of the Great Void trials, many people were very clear about this. However, the talisman bone was the lifeline of a talisman beast, and ordinary people simply couldn't find the location of the talisman bone. Just now, Ling Xiao was also enlightened. He used the Heaven's Will secret skill and instantly understood the location of the talisman bone. Then, he used the star-picking hand to snatch the talisman bone. With the talisman bone snatched, the leopard's life was already in Ling Xiao's hands. The talisman bone in Ling Xiao's hand was the size of a fist. It was crystal clear and flowed with a red glow. It seemed to be filled with flames and contained an incomparably vast power of the law of fire. It looked incomparably exquisite. Ling Xiao looked at the frightened leopard and was too lazy to play with it. He directly smashed its head with a punch. The Great Void token flashed and the leopard's soul was directly devoured by the Great Void token. Ling Xiao's points also became 10. The Great Void token can devour the souls of talisman beasts and talisman men. It's definitely not as simple as just counting points. Or should I say that the souls of talisman beasts and talisman men are also important items that the 5 great academies need to collect? Ling Xiao thought to himself. Unfortunately, the Scarlet Dragon War God did not have many memories of the Great Void's secret realm. He also did not know what the 5 great academies needed these souls for. Not only can this Great Void token be used to count points, it must also be a surveillance item. It can let the people of the 5 great academies see the situation of the holder. Ling Xiao looked at the Great Void token and thought to himself. Swoosh! 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 At this moment, 2 ear-piercing sounds shot towards him. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and saw 2 black-robed young men passing through the dense forest. They instantly appeared in the void in front of Ling Xiao. The 2 black-robed young men looked extremely arrogant. Their cultivation had reached the late stage of the divine spirit realm. Each of them carried a strangely shaped saber and looked down at Ling Xiao. Boy, you can actually kill a talisman beast by yourself. It seems like your combat strength is not bad. Now, I'll give you 2 choices. First, hand over your points and let us help you leave the Great Void's secret realm. Second, come with us. One of the black-robed young men looked at the leopard talisman beast that Ling Xiao had killed. He was a little surprised, but he still spoke coldly. Although he could kill a talisman beast by himself, in their eyes, Ling Xiao's cultivation was only at the middle stage of the divine spirit realm. He couldn't be that strong. I naturally don't want to leave the Great Void's secret realm. However, if you want me to go with you, where will I go with you? Ling Xiao smiled faintly and said calmly. Although he could kill the 2 of them with a slap, it was obvious that the 2 of them didn't have simple backgrounds. Ling Xiao wanted to know more about them before deciding. Why are you talking so much nonsense? We asked you to come with us, so hurry up and leave. Otherwise, we'll kill you right now. The black-robed young man said impatiently. Second brother, be more polite. The black-robed young man next to him reminded him. He then smiled at Ling Xiao and said, Brother, my young master found a talisman man tribe in front of us. There are about 1,000 of them. This is not a small amount of points. Therefore, my master sent us to invite heroes to attack the talisman man tribe together. Who is your young master? A talisman man tribe with 1,000 people? How many divine spirit realm experts are there? What's the cultivation of the strongest expert? Ling Xiao didn't reject him directly. Instead, he pondered for a moment and asked. Brother, don't worry. My young master is Luyang City's Raging Flames young master, Lu Yan. His cultivation is extraordinary and his talent is unparalleled. The Talisman Man tribe is only a small tribe. There are only about 50 divine spirit realm experts. The strongest one is only at the true God realm. However, brother, don't worry. Leave the true God realm expert to my young master. We'll only be in charge of dealing with the ordinary talisman men in the tribe. The black-robed young man didn't show any impatience. Instead, he smiled and explained to Ling Xiao. All right. I'll go with you to take a look. Ling Xiao nodded and agreed. As for the Raging Flame's young master, Lu Yan, he had never heard of him. However, Luyang City was a large city that wasn't inferior to Dazzling Gold City. It was just in the Supreme Heaven region. Presumably, the Raging Flame's young master, Lu Yan, was someone like the Peach Blossom young master, Lu Wenqing. Ling Xiao didn't care about him. Ling Xiao also wanted to see what the talisman man looked like. Brother, please. Chapter 12:25. The two black-robed young men were blood brothers. The eldest was called Yao Wei and the second was called Yao Xing. They took Ling Xiao and soared into the sky, flying far away. Big brother, why are you so polite to this kid? In my opinion, you should have just taken him away. Why are you explaining so much to him? Yao Xing transmitted his voice to Yao Wei and asked in confusion. Second brother, you should change your bad temper. Otherwise, even I won't be able to save you if you kick an iron plate. Yao Wei said via voice transmission. There was a trace of helplessness in his voice. He looked at Ling Xiao with reverence and explained, Second brother, if I'm not wrong, that leopard talisman beast's cultivation should have reached the perfect divine spirit realm. However, it was killed by this kid called Long Outyin. What? Yao Xing's voice suddenly became louder. Although he was transmitting his voice, his face was still filled with shock. Talisman beasts and talisman men were the same. They were extremely powerful and it was difficult for experts of the same level to kill them. This place seemed to be the home of those talisman beasts and talisman men. They could use powerful talisman symbols as they wished. If that leopard talisman beast's cultivation had reached the complete divine spirit realm, it would be difficult for even an expert of the complete divine spirit realm to kill it. After all, talisman beasts could run away if they couldn't defeat them. However, the leopard talisman beast was killed by Ling Xiao. It could be seen that Ling Xiao was at least at the complete divine spirit realm. A person at the middle divine spirit realm who had the combat strength of a complete divine spirit realm expert was definitely a genius expert who had hopes of entering the 5 great academies. If Ling Xiao had made things difficult for them, they would have been dead by now. Thinking of this, Yao Xing couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. Big brother, since this kid has such powerful combat strength, why is he following us to the Talisman Men tribe? Is he plotting something? Yao Xing looked at Ling Xiao's back with a trace of respect in his eyes. Don't worry about him. As long as we reach the Talisman Men tribe, with the young master there, a mere middle divine spirit realm expert won't be able to do anything. Yao Wei said slowly. That's right. The moment the young master entered the Great Void's secret realm, he broke through to the true God realm. His strength is unparalleled and he even has hopes of becoming the champion of this Great Void trial. If this brat dares to play any tricks, young master will definitely not let him off. Yao Xing said confidently. His eyes were filled with reverence at the mention of the Raging Flame's young master. Even though Ling Xiao didn't know what Yao Wei and Yao Xing were talking about, he could sense their little tricks behind his back. However, Ling Xiao didn't pay any attention to him because he was attracted by the talisman bone. If I'm not wrong, this jade talisman is probably made from some kind of powerful talisman bone. It's at least the talisman bone of a talisman beast at the God King realm. Ling Xiao's eyes flickered. When he had obtained the symbol bone, he had already noticed that the material of the symbol bone was very similar to the jade talisman he had obtained. However, the runes within the jade talisman were even more profound and complex, countless times more complex than the rune bone. Ling Xiao immediately guessed the material of the jade talisman. However, to use such a powerful rune bone to create a jade talisman, one could see that the origin of this jade talisman was not ordinary. Ling Xiao, Yao Wei, and Yao Xing passed through the forest and arrived at a valley. There were already dozens of godly realm experts in the valley. They were gathered together and chatting. When they saw Ling Xiao, all of them had different expressions. However, most of them were filled with sympathy and even gloating. Brother Long, please wait here for a moment. I'll report to the young master. After Yao Wei and Yao Xing said that, they came before a young man in a black robe and bowed respectfully. The young man in the black robe looked to be in his 20s. He was tall and handsome. The black robe on his body was embroidered with a few flames with golden threads. His entire body was emitting a powerful aura. He looked very gentle and had a faint smile on his face. It was easy for people to have a good impression of him. There seemed to be flames flickering in his eyes. He was the Raging Flame's young master, Lu Yen. Yao Wei and Yao Xing bowed and then whispered something to each other before pointing at Ling Xiao. Lu Yen nodded and a strange look appeared in his eyes. He then walked towards Ling Xiao. You must be Brother Long Outyen, right? I'm Lu Yen. Greetings. LV Yen smiled at Ling Xiao. Greetings. Ling Xiao nodded indifferently. Although Lu Yen looked very gentle and had a smile on his face, Ling Xiao could feel the arrogance and disdain hidden under that smile. It was very fake. Brother Long, in the depths of the valley ahead is the Talisman tribe. Those talisman men are sinister and cunning. They have already discovered our tracks, but most of them have hidden. Brother Long, are you willing to be our vanguard and investigate the Talisman tribe? Lu Yen said to Ling Xiao. Everyone's gazes landed on Ling Xiao with different expressions on their faces. In this group of more than 60 people, all of them were in the divine spirit realm. Lu Yan's cultivation was in the early stage of the true God realm. He was indeed the strongest person in the group. However, there were only a dozen people who were Lu Yan's subordinates. The rest should have been gathered by him in a short period of time. Ling Xiao guessed that Lu Yen probably used some kind of treasure to be able to gather everyone in such a short period of time. The dozen of Lu Yan's subordinates looked at Ling Xiao with ridicule in their eyes, while the others looked worried and sympathetic. Everyone knew that the Talisman tribe was very dangerous. Those Talisman barbarians were not afraid of death. Anyone who dared to attack their tribe had their heads chopped off and hung on their bodies. This young man called Long Outyen was only in the middle stage of the divine spirit realm, but he was sent by Lu Yen to be the vanguard. In fact, he was just cannon fodder. Could it be that he had offended Lord Raging Flame? Everyone was guessing in their hearts. Ling Xiao frowned slightly. He did not expect Lu Yen to send him to his death in the Talisman tribe. He could even feel the hostility hidden under Lu Yan's gentle appearance. You want me to be your vanguard? Are you trying to send me to my death? Ling Xiao said expressionlessly, but his voice was a little cold. Brother Long, you worry too much. I will send people with you to protect your safety. If you can find out the truth of the Talisman tribe, Brother Long will have made a great contribution. At that time, I will give you more points. Lu Yen said with a smile. What if I'm not willing? Ling Xiao asked with a faint smile. As Lu Yan's most loyal lackey, Yao Xing immediately jumped out and said coldly to Ling Xiao, anyone who disobeys Lord's orders must die. Chapter 1226. Lu Yen took a glance at Ling Xiao and said with a slight smile, Brother Long, I heard from my subordinates that you killed a divine spirit realm talisman beast with your strength alone. Truly shocking. With your combat strength, entering the Talisman Man tribe, you'll definitely be able to retreat unscathed. This is for everyone's safety. I hope you can understand. Just now, hearing Yao Wei and Yao Xing talk about Ling Xiao's combat strength, it made Lu Yen have a trace of vigilance in his heart. He even felt a trace of threat. A mere middle-stage divine spirit realm had the combat strength to kill a divine spirit realm talisman beast. One could imagine that if this boy grew up, he would definitely be a formidable opponent. Hence, Lu Yen wanted him to be the vanguard, dampen Ling Xiao's spirit, then think of a way to subdue him. Lu Yen believed that relying on his true God realm combat strength, it was enough to suppress Ling Xiao. For everyone's safety. What a great for everyone's safety. It's just that I think you got two things wrong. Firstly, am I very familiar with you all? What has your safety got to do with me? Secondly, I'm not your subordinate. Are you worthy of commanding me? Ling Xiao said with a cold smile, his eyes revealing a trace of sharpness. The smile on Lu Yan's face instantly froze, his eyes revealing a trace of gloominess. The crowd didn't even understand what had happened. Why did this newcomer suddenly go against Lu Yan? But some people knew that Lu Yan probably wanted to use Ling Xiao to establish his might and use this to unify everyone. It was just that some people were worried in their hearts. Wasn't Lu Yan too arrogant? The Talisman Man tribe was right in front of them. Instead of uniting to attack the Talisman Man tribe, he wanted to have internal strife. What if those Talisman Men charged out? Everyone knew that Talisman Men were incomparably ferocious and did not fear death. Even if Ling Xiao was suppressed by Lu Yan, was Lu Yan so sure that he could definitely deal with those Talisman Men? Audacious! You actually dare to speak to young master like this? Why aren't you kneeling and begging for young master's forgiveness? Yao Xing laughed coldly and said to Ling Xiao. Noisy! What right do you have to speak here? Ling Xiao smiled faintly and directly slapped out. Ling Xiao was very close to Yao Xing. This slap of his was as fast as lightning. Caught off guard, no one could react at all. Yao Xing was instantly sent flying by Ling Xiao. Pa! A crisp sound rang out. Half of Yao Xing's face instantly swelled up. He spat out a mouthful of blood and screamed in agony. Then, he suddenly crashed into the ground in the distance with a loud bang. This slap stunned everyone. Especially Lu Yan, his face turned ashen. Ling Xiao had sent his subordinate flying with a single slap. It was as if he had been slapped in the face. How could this brat be so arrogant? He was merely at the middle stage of the divine spirit realm, so where did his courage come from? Bastard, I'm going to kill you. Yao Wei couldn't hold it in any longer. His eyes were filled with monstrous anger. He instantly pulled out the saber on his back. The blazing saber light erupted and suddenly slashed down towards Ling Xiao. Rumble. This saber was as fast as lightning. The black saber light fell like the Milky Way, as if it was going to cut Ling Xiao in half. Clang! Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. His expression was extremely calm as he slowly extended 2 fingers. Suddenly, the sound of metal clashing resounded. The dazzling saber light dissipated in an instant. Ling Xiao's 2 fingers caught the saber in Yao Wei's hand. No matter how much Yao Wei circulated his divine power, he couldn't let it fall any further. What? Everyone was shocked. One should know that although the saber in Yao Wei's hand was only a middle-grade divine weapon, under the control of Yao Wei's late-stage divine spirit realm cultivation, even a great perfection divine spirit realm expert wouldn't dare to take it head-on. However, Ling Xiao caught it with 2 fingers. His physical body was actually so strong. Even Lu Yan couldn't help but reveal a trace of shock in his eyes. Although he felt that he could catch Yao Wei's saber with 2 fingers like Ling Xiao, he would definitely be injured. After all, his divine body couldn't withstand the might of a divine weapon. More importantly, Ling Xiao's cultivation was only at the middle stage of the divine spirit realm. This was simply too unbelievable. His physical body has become a god. Lu Yan seemed to have thought of a possibility as he looked at Ling Xiao solemnly and said. Only an expert whose physical body has become a god could withstand the might of a divine weapon with his physical body. If Ling Xiao's physical body has really become a god, it would explain why he could easily kill a great perfection divine spirit realm talisman beast. Get lost. Ling Xiao said indifferently. He suddenly flicked his 2 fingers. Suddenly, Yao Wei was wrapped in a divine power and was instantly sent flying. Just like Yao Xing, he crashed heavily onto the ground. Looks like I've really underestimated you. I didn't expect you to have become a god with your physical body. No wonder you have such powerful combat strength. However, since you've injured my subordinate, I have to take action. Today, I'd like to see how strong an expert whose physical body has become a god is. Lu Yan's eyes flickered with a sharp light as he stared at Ling Xiao. Powerful divine power spread out from his body. You're no match for me. Ling Xiao said very calmly as if he was stating a fact. Arrogant. Lu Yan's face instantly darkened as he laughed out of extreme anger. Rumble. An incomparably powerful aura spread out from Lu Yan's body. Murderous intent filled the air. Blazing flames rose as if they were going to burn everything around them to ashes. The confrontation between Lu Yan and Ling Xiao's aura caused the surrounding people's expressions to change. Lu Yan could be said to be in a difficult position now. He was extremely regretful now. He just wanted to force Ling Xiao to be the vanguard, but he didn't expect Ling Xiao's temper to be so unyielding. He attacked at the slightest disagreement. If he couldn't suppress Ling Xiao now, he would really become a laughingstock. Even if there was a great enemy of the Talisman tribe, he could only attack Ling Xiao. However, at this moment, powerful auras rushed over from the valley, and black jade talismans were thrown out. Oh no! The talisman men are attacking. Suddenly, everyone's expression changed drastically as they exclaimed. Rumble. The black jade talismans were thrown out of the valley and exploded in an instant. They were like thunderbolts, causing the mountains in all directions to tremble violently. They turned into fierce winds, raging flames, frost, and a rain of blades and swords, enveloping everyone. Ah! Screams rang out. Immediately, a few unlucky godly experts were swept up by the power of the jade talismans and were attacked by the violent winds and flames. They were severely injured in an instant. Kill them all. Obscure and ancient syllables rang out. Although the crowd didn't understand the language of the talisman men, they could sense the mysterious fluctuations with their primordial spirits and instantly understood what they meant. One after another, valiant figures rushed out of the valley. They were all wearing animal skins and had all kinds of mysterious runes drawn on their bodies. Even their faces were full of runes. Although they looked no different from humans, they looked extremely ferocious. Their eyes were filled with cruel killing intent. Chapter 12:27. The experts of the Talisman tribe seemed to have turned out in full force. There were over 100 experts and half of them were at the divine spirit realm. The leader of the Talisman tribe, in particular, was 3 meters tall. His muscles were taut and his blood chi was monstrous. His strength was unparalleled and his aura was even stronger than LV Yan's. The Talisman man commander charged out of the valley and instantly fixed his eyes on LV Yan. LV Yan was the strongest. His aura was completely unleashed and it was like a candle flame in the darkness. Naturally, he was instantly discovered by the Talisman man commander. Despicable outsider, die. The rune human commander looked incomparably mighty and strong. His black hair danced wildly in the wind, giving off an unruly and wild aura. He held a black iron staff in his hand. He swung it up with unparalleled power and smashed it down towards LV Yan. Damned barbarian. LV Yan's expression was extremely ugly. The Talisman man commander was charging towards him. He had no choice but to give up on Ling Xiao and turn around to attack the Talisman man commander. Clang! A light flashed in LV Yan's hand and an ancient crimson sword surrounded by resplendent light pierced towards the Talisman man commander. Sword chi rose and contained the majestic power of fire. It was like a vast sea of fire that enveloped the Talisman man commander. Great Talisman ancestor, grant me strength. The Talisman man commander roared. The densely packed lines on his body lit up at this moment. His entire body was enveloped in a layer of golden light that made him look like he was cast in gold. His blood chi was boiling to the extreme. The black staff in his hand trembled violently and suddenly smashed against LV Yan's ancient crimson sword. Buzz! The ancient sword trembled and a blazing sword chi exploded. LV Yan instantly let go of the ancient crimson sword and used his mind to control the sword. It turned into a resplendent stream of light that suddenly circled around the Talisman man commander and slashed his back. Clang! The sound of metal clashing resounded. The ancient sword slashed the Talisman man commander's body as if it had slashed against metal. Sparks immediately flew in all directions and the surrounding void trembled slightly. However, This sword strike only left a shallow wound on the Talisman Man commander's back. It did not injure him at all. The Talisman Golem commander cried out in pain. He raised his black iron rod and smashed it towards LV Yen. It's actually the law of metal. It's a pity that your comprehension is too shallow. If you take too long, you'll definitely fail. A gleam of light flashed through Ling Xiao's eyes. He could tell that the commander could control the laws of metal, which was why he radiated with tremendous metallic qi. The inscriptions on his body could communicate with the laws of metal, giving him a tough body that was impenetrable. However, Ling Xiao could sense that although the Rune human commander's physique was strong, his understanding of the laws of metal was too shallow. After a long time, he would probably lose to LV Yen. The cultivation of these talismans seemed to be to constantly leave behind rune brands on their bodies and use the power of the laws of the world to kill their enemies. At the same time, two ferocious-looking rune men charged towards Ling Xiao with crude stone axes in their hands. The two rune men were enveloped in an earthy yellow glow. Inscriptions flickered as they used the laws of earth, giving them unparalleled defensive power. Boom! Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he punched out. A golden fist mark exploded. It contained an incomparably vast power and instantly shattered the stone axes in their hands. Then, without losing any momentum, it ruthlessly slammed into their chests. Pfft! The earthy yellow glow on the two rune men instantly shattered. Both of them spat out a mouthful of blood as if they had been struck by lightning. They cried out loudly as terror filled their eyes. Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. He did not kill the two rune men. Instead, he transformed into a golden bolt of lightning and instantly left the battlefield, shooting towards the depths of the valley. That was the nest of the Talisman Man tribe. LV Yen also noticed Ling Xiao's actions. He wanted to shake off the Rune human commander and chase after him. However, the Rune human commander had locked onto him and attacked him with all his might, making it impossible for him to escape. Damn it! Long out Yen, I swear that if you dare to snatch my rune infusion, I'll definitely turn you into ashes. LV Yen roared furiously. His voice was filled with unwillingness and anger. Ridiculous. Ling Xiao smiled coldly. He completely ignored LV Yen and increased his speed. Apart from obtaining points by killing rune men, the most important thing in attacking the Talisman Man tribe was that every Talisman Man tribe had an altar to worship the rune ancestor. As long as the rune ancestor altar was destroyed, one could absorb the power of runes that had been accumulated in the altar for countless years. One would be reborn and one's cultivation would soar. The power of runes had been accumulated in the rune ancestor altars for countless years. Thus, when one destroyed the rune ancestor altar and absorbed the power of runes, it would become a rune infusion. The main reason why LV Yen had captured so many people to attack the Talisman Man tribe was naturally for the rune infusion. Now that LV Yen had been targeted by the Rune human commander, Ling Xiao naturally benefited. Ling Xiao's speed was extremely fast. Even if a few rune men tried to stop Ling Xiao, they were instantly severely injured by Ling Xiao. They could only watch as Ling Xiao charged into the Talisman Man tribe. The Talisman Man tribe in the depths of the valley looked extremely ancient and primitive. Their houses were built with huge stones and they had even dug a cave in the mountain. However, there was a square altar in the middle of the valley. It shone with 9 colors and looked extremely mysterious. Who's there? Ling Xiao had just entered the Talisman Man tribe when a few rune men who were guarding the tribe roared and charged towards Ling Xiao. Get lost! Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Powerful divine power erupted from his body and he killed one rune man with each punch. Almost none of the rune men who had charged towards him could withstand a single blow from him. After all, most of the powerful rune men had gone out to fight. The rune men who were left behind were simply no match for Ling Xiao. Just as Ling Xiao was about to destroy the symbol ancestor's altar with one punch, he suddenly saw an ancient jade talisman on the altar. It seemed to be made of the same material as the one he had obtained previously. However, it was not as big as the one in Ling Xiao's hand. Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. He immediately took out the jade talisman and a dazzling light erupted. The jade talisman on the altar immediately turned into a ray of flowing light and merged with the jade talisman in Ling Xiao's hand. The rune lines on the talisman became even more complicated. The entire symbol ancestor's altar began to tremble violently. A milky white pillar of divine light descended from the sky. It contained an incomparably vast and pure energy fluctuation and caused the surrounding void to tremble slightly. Ling Xiao could sense the pure energy contained in the pillar of divine light. It was the power of runes. The Talisman Man tribe had worshipped it for countless years and converged the essence of heaven and earth by communicating with heaven and earth. Ling Xiao naturally walked over without holding back. He immediately unleashed the heaven-devouring secret technique. His entire body seemed to have turned into a vast devouring vortex and swallowed the milky white pillar of divine light. If Ling Xiao had used the normal method of infusing runes into his body, he would have needed at least a few hours to completely refine the power of these runes. However, Ling Xiao did not have that much time to waste here. He immediately used the heaven-devouring secret technique to devour all the runes before storing them in his small world and slowly refining them. As he refined the rune's power, Ling Xiao could sense that the unfamiliarity between him and this world was gradually disappearing. He was like a fish that had entered the sea. His entire body became incomparably light. Chapter 1228. Rumble. It was unknown how many thousands of years the boundless power of the runes had been accumulated. Now that it was poured into Ling Xiao's body, it was like a vast river, surging violently. Even though Ling Xiao had used the sky-devouring secret skill to absorb the power of the runes into his small world, his body was still glowing and his divine power rose. This outsider dares to blaspheme the symbol ancestor, kill him. Tear him into pieces. When the symbol humans in the tribe saw this scene, their eyes instantly turned red as if Ling Xiao had killed their entire family. Their eyes were filled with deep-seated hatred. Regardless of whether they were male or female, old or young, or strong symbol humans, they all let out angry and cryptic sounds and charged towards Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and the light around his body was dense. He did not bother with the symbol humans at all and instantly soared into the sky, turning into a ray of golden light and disappearing into the void. Most of the remaining talisman men were below the divine spirit realm, so they could only watch as Ling Xiao fled. They vented all their anger on Lu Yan and the others. One by one, they screamed and pounced on Lu Yan and the others. Bastard! Long out Yan, I will remember you. Lu Yan roared angrily and his eyes were filled with anger. How could he not see the boundless power of the runes in the dazzling divine light pillar in the depths of the valley? This meant that Ling Xiao had snatched the opportunity of the runes into his body. His heart was bleeding and he even felt a little regretful. If he had not forced Ling Xiao to such a state, the runes into his body might have been his. Absorbing the power of the runes into his body would probably be enough to raise his cultivation level by a small level. It should be known that the power of the runes into his body did not have any side effects. Therefore, besides hunting symbol beasts and symbol humans, many experts who participated in the Great Void stage like to destroy the symbol ancestor altar of the symbol humans tribe to obtain the runes into their bodies. Ling Xiao naturally did not hear Lu Yan's voice. However, even if he had heard it, he would not have cared. Ling Xiao left the symbol humans tribe and flew forward in the primeval forest. He carefully concealed his aura and finally stopped in front of a barren mountain. Ling Xiao used the breath-concealing technique. He was like a rock without any signs of life. He directly opened up a path and entered the belly of the mountain. This was because Ling Xiao felt that if he did not refine the power of the runes would dissipate completely. For some reason, Ling Xiao felt that his body was like a sponge and it devoured the power of the runes as if it was thirsty, causing his body to become stronger. Ling Xiao's ancestral dragon mystic technique had already been cultivated to the initial success stage of the divine dragon body. When the power of the runes fused into Ling Xiao's body, he felt as though there was a mysterious connection between him and this world. Is this the power of the talisman way? The talisman ancestor that they are worshipping is probably a great figure in the Tao of talismans, and he is able to influence the strength of an entire world. He is at least a saint. Ling Xiao thought in his heart. The saints taught the world and their words were law. They were almost the embodiment of the way. This was because the saints understood themselves and the world and had their own way. The words they spoke were like the laws of the world. Their words contained the heavenly law and could reverse yin and yang. After Ling Xiao refined the power of the runes, he could feel that this world contained an incomparably majestic power of the talisman way. For example, the laws of the 5 elements, the laws of yin and yang, and even tens of thousands of laws. The ultimate source was the talisman way. To be called the talisman ancestor by the symbol humans, he must be a saint who had studied the talisman way. Ling Xiao took out the jade talisman that he had obtained. It was originally the size of a baby's palm. After absorbing the jade talisman of the symbol humans tribe, it had become a little bigger. It looked flawless and emitted a light that calmed one's mind. It became even more crystalline and translucent. The runes on the jade talisman became even more crystalline and translucent. The intertwining lines were like the mysterious power of the laws and also like the vast mountains and rivers of the world. It was incomparably profound. Ling Xiao glanced at it and felt dizzy. His primordial spirit trembled. If I can continuously devour the jade talismans of the symbol humans tribe, I believe I will be able to unravel the secret of this jade talisman in the end. Ling Xiao thought to himself. After arriving in the Great Void's secret realm, he increasingly felt that this jade talisman was not simple. Just as Ling Xiao was refining the power of the runes. In the central region of the Great Void's secret realm, 9 mountains that were hundreds of thousands of feet tall were connected to each other. They rose and fell and stretched for tens of thousands of miles. Moreover, they were connected from end to end, forming a huge circle. In the middle of the 9 mountains was an incomparably vast valley. There were many ancient stone halls in the valley. Numerous stone towers were built halfway up the mountain. The surroundings were filled with various kinds of buildings. Although they were not beautiful, they had an ancient and barbaric aura. In the center was a tall altar. It was built with 9 colored divine stones and emitted 9 colored rays of light. It looked extremely mysterious. An old symbol man with a face full of wrinkles and covered in bone ornaments knelt on the altar. He was chanting and his eyes were filled with an extremely pious expression. An ancient jade talisman floated in front of him. It was the size of a human head and was semicircular. It was like a crescent moon, crystal clear and flawless. There were also countless mysterious lines on the jade talisman. At this moment, it was flickering with a resplendent light. Runes floated out from it. Below the altar, thousands of symbol humans prostrated themselves on the ground. They knelt on the ground as their eyes were filled with fanatical worship. The old man on the altar suddenly opened his eyes, and 2 beams of divine light pierced through the void. They were incomparably sharp, and his killing intent blazed. He shouted at the numerous talisman humans below him, "The talisman ancestor has decreed that 1,000 years have passed, and the ancestral gate is about to open. Those shameless outsiders have already entered our home. Please follow the symbol king and kill those outsiders. The bravest warriors will enter the ancestral gate and listen to the teachings of the symbol ancestor." The moment the old symbol man finished speaking, all the symbol men were in an uproar. "Kill all the outsiders! Kill all the outsiders! Long live the symbol king!" All of the symbol humans roared in excitement. Their eyes were filled with fanatical worship. Their gazes were directed at the bottom of the altar, where a young man in a black robe stood up in front of everyone. He was tall, powerful, and extraordinarily handsome. His face was filled with various mysterious runes. Divine chains of order circled around his body, causing his aura to be extremely terrifying. His eyes were golden and did not contain a trace of emotion. They were mysterious, dignified, powerful, and sharp as if they could see through the myriad of worlds. Chapter 1229. The Talisman King stretched out his arms and hugged the sky as he spoke in a thunderous voice, "Talisman warriors, follow me and kill all the outsiders." As his voice rang out, all the Talisman warriors fell into a frenzy. Their fighting spirit reached its peak as they pounded their chests and roared. In the Great Void Ancient City, the scoreboard was constantly changing, like a huge screen in the sky, displaying the names and points of hundreds of thousands of people. First place, Xiongba, 11,200 points. Second place, Ji Lingyang, 7,800 points. Third place, Jian Xia, 7,600 points. Fourth place, Wang Lujun, 7,500 points. Fifth place, Qing Ting, 7,480 points. Sixth place, Chen Kuan, 7,400 points. Seventh place, Lu Wenqing, 7,350 points. Names appeared on the scoreboard one by one. The deans of the 5 great academies stood in the air as they stared at the scoreboard in front of them. Their eyes were filled with amazement. In just a day, Xiongba has already obtained 11,200 points. I'm afraid he has already killed more than 1,000 talisman beasts and talisman men. As expected of the successor of the Overlord Divine Body. Tong Yuan sighed as he looked at the names on the scoreboard. The first place Xiongba had attracted the attention of the 5 great deans. However, everyone knew of Xiongba's background. He was the 7th prince of the Sky Tyrant Divine Kingdom and possessed the Overlord Divine Body. Originally, Xiongba did not need to participate in the Great Void Trial and could enter the 5 great academies directly. However, he still came. Most importantly, it was because of the supreme opportunity in the Great Void's secret realm. No one wanted to miss it. Not at all. His Highness Xiongba is only temporarily in the lead. The 2 princes, Ji Lingyang and Jian Xia, are not far behind. Xiongba smiled modestly. However, the pride on his face could no longer be concealed. Ji Lingyang was the eldest prince of the Great Zhou Divine Kingdom and Jian Xia was the 9th prince of the Sky Sword Divine Kingdom. The 2 of them were extremely strong and could be said to be on par with Xiongba. Wang Lujun, Qing Ting, Chen Kuan and Lu Wenqing are not bad either. They are all geniuses of the city and are not far behind. However, if nothing goes wrong, I'm afraid the champion will be one of them. Ji Guyuan said with a smile. There's still a year before the end of the Great Void Trial. It's only been a day, so we can't see anything yet. However, those talisman men will probably be unwilling to stretch out their necks to be slaughtered, and they'll definitely come to cause trouble. We still have to keep an eye on them. Jian Qin said slowly. Everyone nodded in agreement. The Great Void Mystic Realm was incomparably vast, but the Great Void Trials area was not considered large. It was only tens of millions of miles in radius. The saints of the 5 major academies worked together to set up a large formation, almost cutting off all connections with the other regions of the Great Void Mystic Realm. Moreover, even if those talisman figures entered the scope of the trial, their cultivation would be suppressed to the heavenly God realm, and they would be able to bring forth a cultivation at the perfection stage of the true God realm at most. However, those rune humans were extremely cunning. In the past, there had been powerful rune humans who had entered the trial through some loopholes and caused a large number of casualties. Therefore, the 5 deans had always been on guard against this. More importantly, they seemed to have found the most important clue in the Great Void's secret realm. They did not dare to be careless. Although only the clones of the 5 deans stood guard in the Great Void Ancient City, it was enough to suppress any accidents that might occur. Ling Xiao spent 3 days in the belly of the mountain to completely refine all the power of the runes. His physical strength had become even more powerful, and even his cultivation had reached the peak of the mid-stage of the divine spirit realm. It had basically saved him a few decades of bitter cultivation. Ling Xiao could not help but sigh at the power of the rune infusion. It must be known that after reaching the divine realm, every small breakthrough would require decades or even centuries of accumulation. If one did not have enough opportunities, it would probably take tens of thousands of years to reach the heavenly God realm. Of course, there were also some supreme geniuses who not only had unparalleled talent, but also had countless opportunities. It was not impossible for them to break through a realm in a few years. Looks like I still need to snatch more opportunities for the rune infusion. Moreover, if I want to perfect the jade talisman, I'll need the treasures they offer. Ling Xiao thought to himself. If he did not rely on the opportunities in the Great Void Mystic Realm to work hard to break through, the moment he left the Great Void Mystic Realm, even if he entered Ares College, the speed of his breakthrough would slow down. Ling Xiao even set a goal for himself, to break through to the Divine King Realm within 100 years. If he did not have enough opportunities, it would be very difficult to break through to the Heavenly God Realm, let alone the Divine King Realm. Therefore, Ling Xiao had to grab hold of every opportunity to strengthen himself to deal with the various things that were about to happen. Other things aside, if the wordless heavenly book were to be exposed, Ling Xiao would probably instantly become the enemy of the entire world. At that time, even the sages would come after hearing about it. Therefore, after coming to the divine realm, Ling Xiao had a very strong sense of danger in his heart. Now, let's go and meet up with Fengya and Yu Yangchen first. Ling Xiao thought to himself as he left the belly of the mountain. Previously, he had left a primordial spirit imprint with Fengya and Yu Yangchen, which could guide them to find each other in the trial grounds. Ling Xiao thought for a moment and took out the Great Void token to take a look. There was a clear line of information on the Great Void token. Number 523,681, Long Out Yen, 10 points. I should be at the bottom, right? But it doesn't matter. What's the point of killing those talisman humans and talisman beasts? Robbing those rich dogs is the most important thing. Ling Xiao laughed bitterly. There were probably only 500,000 to 600,000 people participating in the Great Void trial this time. Ling Xiao was truly at the bottom of the list. However, Ling Xiao did not mind. After all, the Great Void trial would last for a year. In the early stages, everyone could still maintain a balance. However, in the later stages, there would probably be internal strife. At that time, if he managed to rob a rich dog, his ranking would immediately rise. On the Great Void token, one could clearly see the entire scoreboard. Currently, Xiongba, who was ranked first, already had 98,000 points. Ling Xiao cursed in his heart. It seemed like the 5 great academies were encouraging everyone to rob each other. Otherwise, everyone would not be able to see the scoreboard. Ling Xiao saw that even the 10th place on the scoreboard had 73,600 points. Lu Wenqing is actually ranked 9th. 75,820 points. What a rich dog. If I were to rob him, I would probably be able to rush into the top 10 immediately. Chapter 1230. Yu Yangchen is approaching us at a fast speed. It seems like he is being chased by someone. Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. He felt that there was a change in Yu Yangchen's primordial spirit. Yu Yangchen's aura was also approaching him at a fast speed. He was only a few thousand miles away. Ling Xiao could not help but reveal a strange look. Yu Yangchen had the saint body of misfortune. Ling Xiao even felt that he was the son of God. Who would dare to chase after him? Ling Xiao immediately jumped up and flew towards Yu Yangchen. In the ancient forest, there were few people. Yu Yangchen looked very embarrassed. He could even be said to be running away like a rat. He kept running forward and shuttled through the dense forest. For a moment, the person behind him could not catch up with him. Shameless man, where are you going? Accompanied by an angry voice, a sky-blue sword light was blazing like the Milky Way. It was extremely sharp and instantly slashed towards Yu Yangchen. Yu Yangchen was shocked. His body moved horizontally at an unbelievable angle. Boom! A towering ancient tree beside him was instantly slashed apart by that sword, turning into a pile of fine powder. A lady in a blue dress flew over with a blue ancient sword in her hand. Her eyes were filled with shame and anger. She had a head of sky-blue hair that fell to her waist. It shone like satin. Her skin was crystal clear like jade. Her face was flawless. Her pair of big eyes were like sapphires. They were crystal clear and bright. Her entire body exuded a water-like temperament. Her body was surrounded by water vapor and divine light. She was ethereal and peerless. "Miss, please calm down. I didn't see anything. I don't know anything." Yi Liangchen shouted at the lady behind him as he ran forward. "Bastard, I will tear you into pieces." It was fine if Yi Liangchen did not speak. The moment he spoke, the lady in blue became even more embarrassed. She gritted her teeth and said. The blue ancient sword in her hand continued to emit blue sword light and slashed towards Yi Liangchen. Yi Liangchen covered his head and ran like a rat. He was extremely helpless in his heart. He could not help but wail, "Brother Long, come and save me." Speaking of which, Yi Liangchen felt extremely wrong this time. The great ant behind him had single-handedly exterminated a tribe of talismans. When the talismans poured into her body, the power of the talismans was so strong that her clothes were shredded. Yi Liangchen didn't think much of it at first, but when he passed by the talisman tribe, he decided to go in and take a look. This was clearly a tragedy. Yi Liangchen had seen every part of that woman's body. That was how the pursuit had happened. Yi Liangchen felt guilty. After all, he had seen the girl's body, so he didn't dare to resist. He could only cover his head and run away desperately. Most importantly, he couldn't resist even if he wanted to. He was only at the early stage of the divine spirit realm, but the great ant behind him was already at the early stage of the true god realm. There was an entire realm between them. Yi Liangchen had already sensed Ling Xiao's location, so he was hoping that Ling Xiao would be able to save him. "No one can save you. I'm going to kill you today." The lady in the blue dress had also become ruthless. Her eyes were filled with anger. Her name was Wang Lujun, and she was currently ranked 4th on the rankings. She was a genius expert of Jade Sea City, and was known as the Lingbo Fairy. When she thought about how her body had been seen by this bastard, Wang Lujun was so angry that she almost fainted. This was especially so when this bastard was shouting all over the world. She couldn't wait to kill him now. However, it was a pity that Yi Liangchen was too slippery. Even Wang Lujun was shocked. After chasing him for tens of thousands of miles, she still couldn't catch up to this bastard who was an entire realm lower than her. Rumble. Wang Liujuan's entire body shone with a bright light. A blue divine rainbow soared into the sky. It was like a divine chain of order, and it shot towards Yi Liangchen. "Great ant, please spare me." Yi Liangchen let out a strange cry. He used the astral steps, and his figure looked very elegant. It was as if there were traces of the movement of the stars. He actually escaped from the range of the blue divine rainbow in an instant. Rays of blue sword light slashed towards him. Rumble. At this moment, a golden fist print flew towards him from afar. It contained an invincible power, and it instantly blocked in front of Yi Liangchen. "Brother Long, you're finally here." Yi Liangchen was overjoyed. That golden fist print directly shattered all the blue sword light that filled the sky. Ling Xiao's white robe fluttered in the wind. He turned into a golden lightning and instantly landed beside Yi Liangchen. "Brother Yi, why are you in such a sorry state?" Ling Xiao smiled and said. "Sigh, don't mention it. It's a long story." Yi Liangchen's face was filled with embarrassment. Ling Xiao was also sizing up Wang Lujun, who was chasing after Yi Liangchen. He could feel that although Wang Lujun looked extremely angry, she was merciful when she attacked. She did not have any killing intent. She was just angry. When he looked at Yi Liangchen again, Ling Xiao instantly felt that it was different from what he imagined. "Who are you? Hand over the kid behind you, or I'll kill you too." Wang Lujun looked at Ling Xiao and said coldly. Although Ling Xiao's cultivation was only at the middle stage of the divine spirit realm, Wang Lujun somehow felt a strong sense of threat from him. The white-clothed girl in front of him was not simple. "Miss, I'm Long Outyan. This is Yi Liangchen, my good friend." If he has offended you in any way, I'll apologize on his behalf. I hope that you won't lower yourself to his level. Ling Xiao cupped his fists at Wang Lujun and said with a smile. Wang Liujuan's eyes were filled with coldness. She said rudely, "You're apologizing on his behalf? Do I know you that well? Hand him over, and you can leave. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." Ling Xiao smiled bitterly in his heart. He didn't know how Yu Yangchen had offended the girl in front of him. She actually hated him so much. However, Ling Xiao naturally wouldn't hand Yu Yangchen over to her. He couldn't help but smile bitterly and said, "Miss, what can I do to appease your anger? As long as you state your conditions, we'll do it." "You want me to appease my anger? That's easy. If you can withstand my sword attack and not retreat, I'll let him go. If you can't withstand my sword attack, you'll hand him over to me. Do you dare to bet with me?" Wang Liujuan's beautiful eyes flashed as she said indifferently. Although the white-clothed young man in front of her looked a little extraordinary, it wasn't easy for him to withstand her sword attack and not retreat. "Sure. I'll promise you. I hope that you'll keep your promise." Ling Xiao heaved a sigh of relief and said with a smile.